gentlemen, it is Ben and Woods, except for one more day. It's Ben and Paul. Woodsy's vacation wrapping up momentarily, and they should be flying back to San Diego later today, and we will have the return of our co-host tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., but it's been a fun 6 days without Woods. No, it's not exactly fun, Paulie. Good morning. Paul Reindl is here, our executive producer and co-host extraordinaire for the week. Good morning, Paulie. How has it gone for you? 6 days without Woods.
Fun wouldn't be the first word I use.
It's harder.
It's been fun. Like, we've had good shows. It's just I wouldn't go there first. I'd say it's been longer days and more work.
It's been, you know what? I think it's gone mostly well over the last 6 days. We've had some good moments. We've had some decent shows. It's never going to be quite Ben and Woods without Woods here. And I would hope you'd feel the same way on days when I'm here. We certainly feel it the same way when you're not here, Paulie, which is going to be happening later this week. You've got a vacation planned as well. So we're going to have Adam in, you just told me, on Thursday and Friday. I didn't know. I thought maybe Italian Paul would be in.
Is it extra sweet because this is against the Dodgers?
And we love Adam. He's great. But it's definitely a different vibe when he's sitting there he loves pushing the buttons at inappropriate times.
Yeah. Oh, God.
He doesn't have your sense of timing when it comes to the drops.
No, he's like a kid in a candy store, and he just comes in.
All right.
Hey there, Delilah.
You're a nerd too.
Doggy style.
Hello to his family.
It's pretty much like when Bo Woods operated the board and just started
Everybody put your hands in the air.
just started pressing buttons. That's what Adam's like when he's running the controls for the show.
Bo has actually a little bit better timing.
Can you put like a password protect on some of them just so he doesn't have access to everything while you're gone?
Ring ding dong, ring a ding 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 dong.
Oh. You know what? I will say, though, your drops make me sound sometimes friendlier than I am, because I honestly, and I felt bad about this morning.
Oh, boy. Do you have another run-in with your coffee?
No, I was fine. I got to our Odyssey studios, and as you probably know, if you've heard, we have nice studios here. They're up on the 6th floor of a fairly modern building. We got windows. It's a nice office space that we got. The studio is gorgeous. So you arrive and you let yourself into the building. And when I arrive, obviously, and same with you, I'm sure, Paulie, it's very early in the morning. It's dark, and you're usually just walking in by yourself. Big empty parking lot, big building. You don't see anyone. And this morning, I start walking in, and there's another guy who's walking in from the opposite direction to the same door that I am.
Oh, boy.
Looks like he's probably normal guy, just going to work early on one of the other floors. And, we get to the door at the same time, and he opens it with his key card. He holds the door for me, which is very nice. And
That was nice.
I walk in, but I know what's going to happen next. He's heading for the elevator, and I don't want to have to make small talk in the morning. And I'm kind of embarrassed about this. So there's a bathroom down on the first floor. I fake as though I have to go to the bathroom just so I don't look like I'm getting into the elevator with him. And then as soon as he gets in and the door closes, I turn around and head and get my own elevator, because we have a bank of 3 elevators, and I can take my own up, and I don't have to make 11 seconds of small talk while he's going up to the 3rd floor or the 4th floor or whatever in our building. Is that just horrible of me to do that? I just don't want to make small talk at 5:15 in the morning or whatever time it is.
Do you think you were going to have?
Nothing. It's probably no more than, hey, good morning.
Morning. If anything, if that.
I know, it's so awful.
Maybe, what number 4? Okay, I got you.
It's so awful. And I totally faked like I had to walk over to the bathroom just to avoid getting in an elevator with a stranger that I didn't know for maybe 15 seconds tops.
It's like a new twist in the evolution of Ben Higgins.
Carla says I've done that. Sometimes I just don't want to talk to people. LOL. I mean, I know he's not coming up to the 6th floor.
Did he look chatty?
Not really. I mean, what does a person look like that looks chatty?
I don't know how to describe it. I just know.
He looked a lot like our engineer Mike, who's here. It wasn't Mike. I would have gone up with a colleague and a coworker, but this was a stranger. And
How
you
do you
know,
know he wasn't a colleague?
well,
you
it's
don't-
true.
you don't know
With
half
me,
the
I don't
people
know
that
half
work
the people who
here.
work here, but usually I know most of the people who are here at 5:15 a.m. because there's 4 people here at 5:15 a.m. So I can recognize at least those people, even if I don't know all of their names. I know most of their names, but maybe not all of them. So
Well, I'm just glad you didn't like take out your phone and fake a phone call or something to avoid talking to this poor person. Like that would have
yeah,
been, that would have been
I
uncomfortable.
see that in the chat. You know, you take out your phone and pretend you're on the phone. That's not really an option at 5:20 a.m.
Right?
Oh yeah, you got a busy.
sorry.
Yeah, I've got a busy
Sixth-
phone call.
sixth floor.
He's
Thank
on the
you.
he's on the East Coast. This is 8:20 where I'm calling him. I had to get up early for an important phone meeting at this time, so can't really do that. I mean,
Has this happened before?
yeah, it's happened a couple of times before. Obviously, it's rare.
Next time, will you do a social experiment and just
Get in the elevator.
muster the strength and get on the elevator and see if he says any more words than "Hey, good morning."
I'm sure he wouldn't have. He might not have said anything. We may have gone up in silence, but that also would have been somewhat.
It only takes
awkward.
a few seconds to get all the way up to the 6th floor. He's probably getting off on the
I know.
3rd floor.
I know.
It's the blink of an eye, and he's already up there.
I get it.
Getting
I
off
get
your
it. Elisa says airplane talkers are the worst. Have you ever sat next to a stranger on an airplane who wanted to talk your ear off for the whole flight?
Probably, but I put my headphones on. Like I walk onto the plane with my headphones on, and they don't
All right.
really
Well,
come
then
off.
what's you're pretty much then me on an elevator, except on an airplane.
Yeah, except I'm not faking going to the bathroom to avoid the person.
Yeah, I get it, Ray. He opened the door for me and everything. He did. He did. Well, technically, you're not supposed to do that because I could have been an intruder trying to get into the building, waiting to time it to look like I was an employee to walk in. So
Proper protocol would have wanted him to slam the door in your face and prove.
I mean, isn't that
you pull out your key card?
Isn't that technically how the building security is supposed to work? The proper protocol would be to be extremely rude. And if I got there first, I would open the key card and I'd go,
Guess you're right.
I'm sorry, I can't let you in, and then close the door. So he has to then open it with his own key card. That's technically the proper procedure to go into an office
guess you're
building after hours, correct? I don't know who he is. He
I've
doesn't
held the
know
door
who I
open
am.
for others.
I do
before
too, because
at that
we
time.
live, as George Costanza says, in a society, and you feel like if someone's there, you have to open the door for them, even though technically, JR would say, you're not supposed to open the door. Did you check his credentials? Did you ask him? I'm not going to ask him to show me his key card and his credentials. If he's walking in, I probably assume he's supposed to be here. That's why it's probably pretty easy to break into a building because you just prey on people's insecurities and let them in at 5:15 in the morning, even though it's kind of suspicious to be going into a building this early, even though we're supposed to be here at this time.
Says,
All right.
here in the chat, Bean says he's an airplane talker. If you have headphones on, I will try and talk to you. Beans, you should be arrested. I'll be on an airplane on Friday. If anybody tries to talk to me while my headphones are on and they do not work for the airline,
Has anyone ever
they should be arrested.
tapped you on the shoulder just because
No
they
fly
needed to
list,
get
if
your
that's the case.
attention? You've got headphones on. Tap, 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 tap.
I think I would be defending myself if I punched them in the nose.
Happy National Root Beer Float Day. We haven't gone through. You
Not a fan.
dutifully put in all the national days, and Woods is a little bit better about kind of going through them and checking them, and I don't, and I'm sorry, Paulie.
Okay.
But that one caught my eye this morning because I love the idea of a root beer float. I wish I liked root beer floats. I don't like root beer.
I don't either.
But the idea of
It's okay.
The idea of a root beer, a frosty, frothy root beer float with a scoop of vanilla ice cream sounds amazing. And I'm sorry that I don't like it because I just have never liked root beer.
I've done it with other sodas.
Yeah, Coke Float or,
Coke or
I've done it,
orange
but-
soda is my favorite.
Yeah, like an orange sickle, a cream sickle. Yeah, absolutely. But the traditional is the root beer float.
Right.
And I feel like I'm missing out on something. Is there anything that you wish you liked, but you don't like? I got
I have to
yesterday.
think about it honestly. I will pretty much give anything a chance.
No,
Anything
I mean,
anything I wish
but
I
you just
liked.
don't. There's just
Yeah.
things you don't like, and whether it's from childhood and you never got to like them. For instance, yesterday, I think it was my colleague Michael Chen had brought in these cookies from somewhere that really good, like gourmet-looking cookies. But they had like nuts and stuff in them. And I don't like nuts in my cookies. And I go, I wish I liked nuts in my cookies because that looks like a really good cookie. But I don't. So I'm not going to eat this, and you can just give it to someone else. And I feel bad, but I just don't like it. But I wish I did. But you can't you can't make yourself like something you don't like. You can try. You can be open-minded. I'm very open-minded. I've tried all kinds of different foods, and I've even, started like things sometimes that I didn't like before. But there's just a few things out there I don't think you're ever going to like. And that's okay. What don't you like? Like, what's a food you just don't like?
I'm just a little bit taken aback still.
About what?
You know what? Nuts in your cookies. I don't like tomatoes or pickles.
Okay, tomatoes
are like condiments, and they come with salads, burgers, etc.
Tomatoes seems like that would be a hard thing to not like.
It's weird.
You're okay with tomato sauce, though.
Okay with tomato sauce. Okay with ketchup. Okay with.
So it's a textural thing, not necessarily a flavor thing.
Like if I go to Jersey Mike's and I get it Mike's Way, no tomatoes. I don't know what it is. Never been a fan of pickles. Have to take them off. But I don't wish
that
I
wish that you
pickles.
like it. It's not. It's like, taking a tomato off something. I don't think is a big deal. If you can like tomato sauce, you can eat Italian food and pizza with no problem.
Right.
Then I don't think you're missing out on tomatoes too much. Just sliced tomatoes aren't
I think that's what it is.
The greatest
Sliced,
thing in life.
Juicy.
I like a good caprese salad, but I mean, if I didn't ever have another one the rest of my life, I think I'd probably be fine. It's not the end of the world. If I didn't like tomato sauce, I think that would be tough. Because a lot of really good food contains tomato sauce.
I don't like super spicy food, and everybody that I know that likes it loves spicy food. Whether it's flaming hot Cheetos to level whatever Thai food, anything like they love super spicy wings. I can't do it. Give me the mild or the medium wings. But everybody seems to go crazy for the spicy, so I guess I wish I had a better palate for spicy food.
I can do the base level of spicy, like a buffalo wing, but I'm never going to do like double X. I'm never going to give it to me extra spicy.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the normal level of spiciness.
Do you like nuts in your wings?
Nuts in my wings?
You don't like nuts in your cookies. I was just wondering what you do and don't like nuts on.
Well, it's really the kind of nuts that they put in cookies. It's generally not peanuts. I like peanuts. I'm okay with maybe like some kind of almonds, but like walnuts and pecans, the ones they usually chop up and put in cookies, I do not like those in anything. So,
what's your favorite cookie?
My favorite cookie is probably an oatmeal raisin cookie.
Oh,
to be
great
honest.
Call, Benjamin.
Yeah.
Woods would probably call us deviants, but I'm right there with you.
Thank
I love
you.
a good oatmeal raisin cookie.
Softer texture.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. Now, chocolate chip cookies are delicious, especially the ones that are really, I like kind of the crispier caramelized chocolate chip cookie as opposed to the
chocolate chip cookie
soft
just kind of seems like not a give up. It's good, but it seems like the vanilla ice cream of cookies.
A little bit, yeah.
It's the base.
It's basic. It's good.
It's the absolute base, and it's fine.
Well,
cookie talk.
There we go. Foreplay done. Last foreplay without Woods. We made it through. Now we've got to get the rest of the 3 hours and 45 minutes. No, we do actually have a really good show here for you on the final day of Woods' vacation. We'll tell you all about it. Set the menu coming up in our next segment. But I will warn everybody, Jesse Agler is going to be with us a little bit early today from Pittsburgh, 3 hours ahead. So that's about 15 minutes away. So stay tuned. Voice of the Padres coming up, and then more with Ben and Paul. It is Tuesday morning. Chat, good to see you. Glad to have everybody with us. Let's check traffic with Kelly Danick on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I know we have a lot of Padres season ticket members who are in the Tier 1 audience, and we have other people who will only go to a handful of games, and some who just watch on television. Everyone consumes their Padres baseball in their own way, but if you are a season ticket member, you probably got a letter last night from Erik Greupner, the CEO of the Padres, talking about renewals for the 2025 season. If you're not, I'd imagine you're still probably curious about what that letter had to say. And we did get a copy of the letter that season ticket members received announcing that in 2025, the Padres would be asking for what they're calling a small ticket price increase for season ticket member seats in 2025 that is, quote, significantly less than prior year increases. What does that mean mathematically in your wallet? Well, we can certainly discuss. I saw a number of mixed reactions from Padres fans yesterday, and we can discuss it this morning. I think the math that I saw was that the overall increase is 3% for season tickets from this season to next season. Yeah, which means some maybe a little bit more than 3%. And actually, according to the Padres, some tickets will be even down a little bit depending on where you're sitting and what your section is. Individual mileage may vary, but obviously this is kind of always a loaded subject for Padres fans, and we're going to be talking about it this morning here on Ben and Woods. If you have season tickets, if you have some thoughts, we'll invite your phone calls coming up in our next hour. But I can tell you that at 8 o'clock this morning, we will be joined by Padres CEO Erik Greupner, who, no coincidence that he's coming on today to promote the fact that season ticket renewals are now going out.
What timing?
And I'm sure he will have his own argument. And I'm not going to say how you feel is right or wrong. You may be fine with a small increase. You may be outraged by a small increase. Padres on the field, the product this year has been immensely better than last year's product. More enjoyable, more exciting wins, better place in the standings. They're currently tied for the top wildcard spot with both the Braves and the Diamondbacks, who won last night. And it's shaping up to be an exciting last couple of months of the season, which was not the case last year. Last year, however, they had a higher payroll. They were investing more into the team, and clearly they scaled back on the payroll. So you could say, well, is it fair to pay more for a better product, or is it fair to pay less because they're paying less for their players overall? No one can argue that the Padres haven't invested a huge amount more in salary over the last few years than ever before in franchise history. Gone all the way up to number 3 in baseball. I think last year they're still right around the top half of baseball this year, even after cutting back on a little bit of salary in the offseason. And I don't think people care that much. If they're winning, you'd rather have the team with the lowest payroll that wins every year than the one with the highest payroll that misses the playoffs. I know that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that the cost to fans should also somewhat reflect the expenses to the team going into what they're paying. And Padres do a really good job of keeping up Petco Park. There was a mention that they are going to continue to make additional impactful improvements to Petco Park this coming offseason. Obviously, huge investments last year in the new Gallagher Square and some of the things that they've done to try to improve the fan experience. So it's a complicated question, and one that I'm happy to discuss with the Tier 1s, the season ticket members, and anyone who has thoughts, which we will get to coming up later today if you want to join us and talk about that. But again, Erik Greupner will be with us at 8 o'clock this morning. And then after Erik Greupner is done, coming in studio with us around 8:35 for the final 90 minutes or so, going to get to know a little bit about one of my colleagues at Channel 10. Wale Aliyu is our evening anchor along with Kimberly Hunt. He's been here, I'd say, about a year in the market. He worked last in Boston, but that's not where he's from. And I don't know everything about Wale's background. We just redid our newsroom, and our desks are next to each other now. So I'm kind of getting to know him better. But he's personable. He's a nice guy. He's a sports fan. And I thought, why don't you come in? Woods is not here today. We'll just have a good time, shoot the breeze,
I love that.
get your thoughts on some stuff. So we'll see what kind of energy he brings. Normally an evening work guy like me on television, but we're getting him up in the morning. I didn't make him get up before like us and be here at 6 o'clock, but he's going to be here at 8:30 for the last 90 minutes. First half of the show, as I mentioned, though, we got Jesse Agler coming up in our next segment. Joining us from Pittsburgh as the Padres open a 6-game road trip tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we'll play the Incorporator, our new version of the Incorporator that started last week, Song Lyric Incorporator. And we've got a special selection for Jesse.
Good one today.
That hopefully he'll be able to tackle in tonight's broadcast, along with Bob Scanlon, who is with him on the trip and will be doing radio as Tony takes the road trip off. So he's got Bob alongside of him, which always changes the dynamic a little bit because Bob's done the Incorporator before. So he may be aware. He's shown an awareness in the past of what's been going on.
Yeah.
But when you're traveling, he's probably not
paying attention
as much. We'll see what goes on.
We got the new version of the Incorporator, so maybe this
totally
one just
different.
Slides right by.
Exactly. So Jesse's next, and then 7 o'clock we'll have Take on John one more time. Have we texted him? He's good for one more. He's been great the whole time that Woods has been gone. John Flint's come in and play Take on John for a chance to qualify for our new trip to Las Vegas, Resorts World. Carrie Underwood tickets coming up at 7:10. Don't do this at 7:20, and then should be a good show today. But let's take a break so we can get to Jesse on the back end, and when we come back, we'll head out to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for a little Jesse Agler talk to start the road trip. Coming up next, don't go away. Ben and Woods continuing on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Express Employment Professionals. If your supply chain demands a flexible workforce, hire with Express Employment Professionals. With contract and full-time workers from Express Employment, you get the staff you need and manage contingent labor costs. Learn more at expresspros.com. That's expresspros.com. Thought this was kind of a Padres show, but looking at our YouTube chat, it's more of a cookie show now with everybody sharing what cookies they like after we talked about it in Foreplay this morning. Paulie and I both kind of oatmeal raisin guy. Nothing against chocolate chip, but snickerdoodles are good.
Yeah.
People like the Biscoff cookies, they're kind of like ginger snaps, sort of, that you get on the airplane sometimes. I always like when I get one of those.
White chip macadamia nut.
See, and again, like macadamia nuts fall in the category of nuts I don't want in my cookies, Paul. So
I don't know which nuts you like and which nuts you don't like.
I know I'm complicated. Now, peanut butter cookie with peanuts, I will eat a peanut butter cookie every day of the week. All right, we got Jesse standing by. Let's get to traffic. The voice of the Padres and the Incorporator joins us on the other side here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
We're dealing with some fog around parts of the county this morning, so you definitely want to take that into consideration. Give yourself a little extra time. Just one accident to mention here, guys. This is on westbound 905, right at the northbound 5 connector. It's got that left lane of that transition ramp blocked. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station. 97.3 The Fan.
Out we go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, joined by Jesse Agler, the voice of the Padres. And Jesse, everybody wants to know. Put you on the spot here.
Good.
What's your favorite kind of cookie, Jesse?
My favorite kind of cookie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I know, tough question, right?
Yeah, and I hadn't spent a lot of. You know what? I'm not doing great right now, but generally in life, I try to avoid sweet.
We know.
I'm on a bad
we
run.
know. We
I'm on a
know
very
how
so
bad
disciplined,
responsible and healthy
Yeah.
you are, especially on the road, Jesse. We get it.
Yeah, but I'm a big sucker for Oreos.
Oh,
I just think they're delicious, and I assume you kind of meant chocolate chip, oatmeal raisin, that kind. I don't like snickerdoodles. I can tell you that.
Fair.
But I love Oreos. Ever since I was a kid, it's just perfect. It's perfect.
I freeze them, and I especially like the mint-filled Oreos in the freezer.
Okay.
Well,
you're very fancy.
I am very fancy. We know this about me.
Sure.
Jesse, how's Pittsburgh? How was the travel, the day off? Do any sightseeing yesterday?
I wouldn't call it sightseeing, but I walked around for a while. I love Pittsburgh. I always tell people, if a random fan asks me, hey, I want to do a road trip with the Padres this year, where should I go that's not obvious? Because I always say, of course, you want to try and get Wrigley if you can, or New York, or whatever, San Francisco. And Pittsburgh and Milwaukee are always the two sleeper ones I mention to people that, if you can make the travel work and it works with your schedule, it's a great ballpark. It's a great city. And the cool thing right now is really thanks very largely to Paul Skeens, who pitched on Sunday, so we won't see him here, which is probably a good thing, is that they're into it right now. I mean, it's a great sports town. They love their buccos. Obviously, the Steelers are, sort of the rulers of the roost here, but they've always shown up for the Pirates when the Pirates have given them a reason to show up. And sadly, for, most of the last 25 years, they haven't given the fans a reason to show up. But this year, they're into it, certainly on Skeens Day, but the team is right in that wild card mix, along with 3/4 in the National League, of course. And it seems like there's a real vibe around the Pirates right now, which is great because, again, it's a great fan base. And, you're happy for fan bases like this that sort of get the opportunity to get back into it and for the team to have sort of earned that from the fans. It's a smaller level, obviously, than what's going on in San Diego with all the sellouts, but it's starting to happen again here in Pittsburgh, and hopefully they continue to have a little bit more success, and hopefully they're able to, keep this thing going for quite some time because these are definitely fans here who deserve more than what they've gotten.
Now, Jesse, you mentioned Paul Skeens, and you said in your answer there that we missed him this time around, and that's probably a good thing. And I'm curious, do you think that's a good thing? Or maybe I'm asking if Jesse Agler were to put himself in a Padres uniform and you were on the team, would you want to face a Paul Skeens? You know what? I'm up for the challenge. I want to see what this kid's got. Or are you like, hey, man, we're in a pennant race here. We're in a wild card race. If we miss their ace, that's good for us.
So I have it's a great question. I got 3 different answers for you from 3 different personalities, right? So announcer Jesse is, of course, a little bit disappointed because it'd be great if he was pitching tonight and the place was packed and there was all that energy. Like, that'd be awesome. Like, I would love that. Okay, so that's announcer Jesse. And then, to what you said, if I were like the starting, right fielder or whatever, like, hell yeah, I'd want Paul Skeens starting tonight. I absolutely would. I would want to be able to, I want to be the team that gets to him, for the first time. I want to be the team that only strikes out twice in 6 innings or 5 innings or something like that. I want to be the team that knocks him around, so absolutely. But then, like, yeah, the third one, which is, I guess, at the moment at least, my sort of like overriding one, is that perspective of, hey, man, this team's got to win as many games as they can, and anytime you miss somebody's ace, that's a positive. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely like an entertainment and a competitive aspect that you would love to see the guy, but it's August now, and, every game matters. Every game is important. Every game is sort of, relevant to what could be in the postseason. So I'm not going to turn away something like that happening. Not to say that they don't have other good pitchers. They do. By the way, the reason – a big reason that the Buccos were okay trading Martin Perez away to the Padres was that, they felt like they had enough starting pitching. Like, they've got some really good starters. So it isn't just Paul Skeens. We shouldn't be fooled into thinking that, it's kind of a one-man rotation here for these guys. They've got some really good starting pitching. But again, for me, I guess right now my overriding feeling is that, not the worst thing in the world to not see their best pitcher.
I think the most exciting starting pitcher in baseball right now will, in fact, be on the mound tonight, though, and his name is Dylan Cease, Jesse. And you get the chance to call now. I mean, after the first 2 starts of this run, it was like one of the best 2-start runs in baseball history with 2 1-hitters. Then he threw a no-hitter in Washington, making it one of the best 3-start runs in history. And then he followed that up with 3 hits and 1 run, making it one of the best 4-start runs in Major League Baseball history. Can we go for 5, Jesse? And how fun is it to call Dylan Cease games right now?
It's really electric. I mean, the last few years we would always say, right, Blake Snell might have the nastiest stuff of any left-hander in baseball. And I stand by that. I think that's true. I mean, Dylan Cease might right now have the nastiest stuff, just stuff-wise. That slider, the curveball, the explosive fastball of any right-handed pitcher in baseball. And the way, in a sense, and this is oversimplifying it, I know, but almost like the way he has filled the Snell role on the Padre rotation is remarkable. Just like this guy who is capable of that every single time out. And Blake obviously pulled it off the other day in Cincinnati, and Dylan a few days before that. Like, it's pretty amazing. And I've said this a bunch of times on our broadcast and probably on your show too. The way that AJ Preller has injected talent into this rotation time and time again, it seems like every year for the last like 4 or 5 years right now is really remarkable, because as we all know, starting pitching is at an absolute premium in the sport. It is really hard to find at times. And, in one off season, he added Musgrove, Snell, and Darvish. And then, it was Waka and Lugo, and those guys leave, and you're like, oh man, what's going to happen? And now you look at the years that Michael King and Dylan Cease are having. It's just remarkable. Like, it's not supposed to happen that easily. And I don't want to say it's easy because it's hard for the baseball ops guys, I'm sure, to make the right calls and for Ruben Niebla to work with these guys and all that. But the strength that they have had from a starting pitching standpoint with the amount of turnover that they've had on a starting pitching standpoint is really remarkable. And you got to put Dylan up at the top of the list right now, as you said. I mean, it's just so fun to watch. And the cool thing is about the run that you're talking about, right? Like the 1 hit, no runs, the 1 hit, no runs, and then the no-hitter. Feels like that never actually happened. That's like the guy who hits in 1 at-bat 2 long, like foul home runs, as we say. And then he turns one around and actually hits it fair for a homer. Feels like that never actually happens, right? And like that was sort of what happened with Dylan Cease. It was like, oh man, he's got no-hit stuff. Oh man, he's got no-hit stuff. And he actually threw the no-hitter. Like, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was almost a logical progression of the way he had been pitching. And that's not usually the way this sport goes. Usually the sport is much dumber than that and much more hard to figure than that. And that's just how good and dominant he's been.
As you were giving your answer, we're talking to Jesse Agler, voice of the Padres, is in Pittsburgh. I couldn't help but think of the movie Moneyball, and no one's going to confuse the 2024 Padres, who have, had one of the top payrolls in baseball the last few years with the 2000s A's, but the scene in which they're trying to replace Jason Giambi, and they go through, well, we got to replace him in the aggregate. And you look, how do you replace a Cy Young winner in Blake Snell and a talent like Juan Soto. And really, Jesse, the Padres have done it. I mean, with Dylan Cease and, Michael King, who also replaces, his quirky interviews the day after with Don and Mud like he does. And then with Jurickson Profar and Jackson Merrill producing in the outfield, they kind of have replaced all those numbers and then some in the aggregate from the guys that they lost last year.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to throw in Donovan Solano and David Peralta, too. I mean, I can't tell you how often I'm talking about this team with somebody, either somebody who works here or somebody from another team, and I start, raving about Donovan Solano. I know he's not playing a ton. First of all, though, just from, a how hard baseball is standpoint, the guy, at one point, I had it written down the other day. I forget what it was. But, he had a 7-game hitting streak. I think it was something it went back, 2.5 weeks, something like that, which is not supposed to happen. Because when you're playing infrequently, it's hard to just sort of I have a spot start. Oh, I have a pinch hit appearance. Oh, I'm coming off the bench in the 6th inning to play first base, whatever. It's hard to get a hit doing all those things when you're not getting that consistent playing time, and he does. He is the perfect avatar to me for what is different about the 2024 team as compared to, the last couple of years, is that you have a guy like that, who could, fill in when Xander was hurt, he was playing a lot, or if you need a big pinch hit appearance. And I mean, we throw that thing professional at bat out there probably more often than we should, but boy, is he the perfect example of it. And I'm not naming names, but think about some of the guys who came off the bench, in recent years. And he's just at a different level. He really is. And great teams, and I do think this is a great team. Great teams have a guy or guys like Donovan Solano on the roster who have been there. They have done that. They understand the assignment. They don't let the ego get in the way, but they still have all the talent, ability, and tenacity to come through in those situations. It's just, I can't stop thinking about how important he is to this thing, even if he is, at certain times only getting a handful of at-bats over the course of a week. And so that goes to what you're saying, it's this combination of all these guys put together. And, it's also a perfect fit. The kind of at-bat that he takes fits in perfectly with sort of what the Padres are at their best offensively. And there's some real intent, I think, that has been used to sort of put this roster together, and it's working out really, really well.
The only thing I've kind of wished, especially in the past, month and a half since Tatis has been out, is that Solano played the outfield, and you could create a Donovan Solano, David Peralta platoon of two veteran guys who just know what they're doing, good guys, right-handed, left-handed. I mean, you could even combine their names together like Donovan Solarta or something into your great, platoon right fielder. But alas, they don't play the same position. You can't always work it out that way. But you got to add David Peralta to the mix there, and especially with what he did in that last game, Jesse, he has brought some important at-bats and games for the Padres as well.
No doubt. I put him right in that same conversation, and I should have mentioned him more than I did. Again, and those are the kinds of guys that great teams have. Those are the kinds of producers you have off the bench. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned Fernando being out, and this is a very good reminder that this team is playing their best baseball of the year right now. They are. And they're doing so without one of their most talented, brilliant players out there. Again, that goes to the depth, that goes to the team concept. It goes to just sort of the structure of this whole thing. I mean, it's so much fun right now, kind of getting into these situations and watching it unfold different ways, different nights, and knowing all right, they got a shot here. They really do. I mean, that first Dodger game last week, you pecked away, gave up the early runs, pecked away, Manny homers, you're still down 1 in the 9th inning after the Machado home run. And the confidence everybody seemed to have, they're oh yeah, they're going to win this game. That's so different, certainly than last year when, those games all went terribly for them. It's so much fun right now. And I've said this a bunch, and I'm not just, saying it to throw it out there and blow smoke, but I think it's so important that we regularly remind ourselves. This is no disrespect to the pennant winning teams, because obviously they accomplished something on the field that this group has not done yet. But I have no doubt, and it's not just my opinion, we are living right now in the best era of Padre baseball that has ever existed. And I don't know what is to come in September and October. I hope that we are playing deep into October. I hope that Tony and I are dressed up for Halloween in the booth, for Game 6 of the World Series or something like that. But I mean, this is this is great right now. It's so much fun. I know there are boxes that need to be checked, but the fact that like we're having these kinds of conversations year in and year out, I'm having so much fun right now, and it's really it's a special time.
Well, I heard you'll have Bob Scanlon by your side here on this road trip, which means that's who you're going to have to swing the incorporator past today. And just like last week, we're going to keep with the theme and do song lyrics incorporator. And this week, we've decided, Paul, I had a great idea. Since you're in Pittsburgh, let's pick an artist from Pittsburgh. And I had no idea that this musician grew up, went to high school, North Allegheny High School in Pittsburgh. But here is this week's song lyric incorporator.
I am beautiful in every single way.
Christina Aguilera, I am beautiful in every single way, Jesse. And we want the direct quote if you can somehow work that in.
I am beautiful in every single way.
Beautiful in every single way. Now,
Bob's just going to be sitting there like, oh, somebody's full of themselves.
Yeah,
aren't
I mean,
they?
you can work it into some sort of story or quote, however you'd like it, but that's your incorporator lyric for this week.
I love it.
It was either that or Wiz Khalifa. So
yeah, I don't know. We had to stretch to find an artist from Pittsburgh, but yeah, she went to North Allegheny High School. Yeah. So there you go, little Christina Aguilera for you, Jesse, and have a good road trip. See you back in San Diego next week for a quick homestand, and Woodsy will be back next Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow, but you'll finally get to talk to him next Tuesday.
Who's that? I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
Oh, you mean he's so out of sight. He's like a genie in a bottle.
Oh, he's gonna.
I got that. Tonight. I even got that reference.
He is going.
Thank you, Jesse.
It.
Love you guys.
See you, buddy.
Jesse Agler, the voice of the Padres and the incorporator, playing along right there.
He does not miss.
You know, he's always says he's not really that musically inclined, but he did not miss a beat. Genie in a bottle.
That was outstanding. With
the Christina Aguilera reference right there. So, yes, I am beautiful in every single way. Is that what we went with?
I am beautiful in every single way.
How do you work that into a baseball broadcast? We will find out tonight.
I can't wait.
Listen in. Starting at actually 3:40, actually more of an afternoon game on the West Coast, 2:40 Eco Water SoCal pregame show with Sammy Levitt. So your drive home, maybe make plans to try to get out of work early if you can, or secretly watch or listen on your phone this afternoon when the Padres get it going against Pittsburgh Pirates at 3:40 today to start a 6-game road trip. All right, we'll come back. Hopefully we'll play a little Take on John, try to qualify someone for our new trip to Las Vegas to see Carrie Underwood at Resorts World. All coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. Don't go away. Welcome back to San Diego's number one cookie station. We are 97.3 The Fan. Our thanks again to Jesse Agler, Oreo fan, joining us from Pittsburgh and getting ready for tonight's Christina Aguilera-themed Incorporator at 3:40 today when the Padres open a 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It'll be Dylan Cease on the mound, looking to continue what's been a historic run, as Jesse was talking about. 4 incredible starts. His last 4 starts, the numbers, Paulie, 27 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits.
It's pretty good.
Or 5 hits, I'm sorry. That's still good. 5 hits.
Not as good, but still
Still, 1 earned run and 36 strikeouts.
Wow. In 27 innings.
In 27 2/3 innings. 5 hits, a run, and 36 strikeouts, including a no-hitter, of course, on July 25th in Washington.
Yeah, he's on one right now, man. Keep it rolling.
Bailey Falter, decent left-handers, had a pretty good season. He's getting an ERA just under 4. But the way Dylan Cease has been pitching, and obviously, all good things come to an end at some point, but you hope it's not today. You feel good. You get Dylan Cease, 3-4 runs, you got to feel pretty good about your chances when Dylan Cease is on that mound with the bullpen that the Padres have put behind him after another off day. Ready to go. So that'll be today's series opener. Tomorrow, Michael King is scheduled to return after about 10 days off after he took that line drive in his last start. He will take on Marco Gonzalez in Game 2 of the series. Michael King talked to the UT about that workload thing and how, maybe the 10 days off is not the worst thing. It's the second time in this last month he's had a 10-day break. They were able to give him a 10-day break around the All-Star break because he pitched 3 days before the All-Star break and then not until 3 days after it. So he was able to get one 10-day break in. Now here's another one. Just trying to stretch that arm in as many innings as possible as he continues to push, past where he's ever been before, at least on the big league level. So Michael King been an important arm. He will pitch in tomorrow's series middle game. And then still no word on who the Padres are throwing yet on Thursday. Remains a TBD for Game 3 of the series. If you want to join us, they're going to take on John coming up here in a couple of minutes. Chance to qualify for our new trip to Las Vegas. Carrie Underwood tickets at the Resorts World, which is fantastic. I saw it when I was in Vegas a few months ago. Really cool place. Call now if you want to play our musical trivia challenge, 833-288-0973. A couple minutes away, but you can get online first. Helps you have an advantage getting in, 833-288-0973. Before we get to that, though, Paul, you asked me an interesting question that there's no perfect answer for before the show regarding the Olympics. You remember your question?
I do.
Yeah.
Every time I get an update on the Olympics, it's always the medal count. And they show the gold medals, silver medals, bronze medal counts, and then your total medals. And I go, what's better? The overall medal count or having the most gold medals? Right
now, in the overall medal count, the United States is well ahead. 79 total medals. China is second with 53. Host France is third with 48. But when it comes to gold medals, the United States is only tied for the most with China at 21.
So I would say the United States is having a more successful Olympics run than China based on the fact that they're tied with gold medals and we have 20 more medals in general.
I think but
if China had 8 more gold medals than us, but we still had more overall medals, who feels like they're winning?
Call me a softie.
I don't even know if it is a competition.
Call me a softie, but ultimately in the Olympics, finishing top 3 matters. Unlike any other sport. The Padres have, 52 silver medals this year for finishing second. It doesn't sound as good in baseball. You either win or you don't in most sports. Mm-hmm. But in the Olympics, first, second, or third are all great accomplishments, especially in events where you're taking on multiple competitors. There may be, 30 or 40 qualifiers, and you stand out by being one of the top 3. That makes a difference. So I think the overall medal count is very important, and having 79 of them certainly reflects well. Now we have inherent advantages in population size and just training and everything that goes into being part of Team USA, so you'd be pretty embarrassed if we weren't doing very well in, I mean, I guess China has better population size than we do, but we generally do win. I don't think that we've lost a medal count since like the Soviet Union was around in the 1980s. So that's something you certainly expect from Team USA. It also kind of depends on like the event. Like if the USA men's basketball team wins gold and they play in the quarterfinals today, 12:30 our time against Brazil, there's how many guys are on that team?
I was just going to ask, does that count as 12
No,
gold
it only
medals
counts
or
as one, just one single gold medal for winning, whatever, 6 straight basketball games, and everybody on that team that worked so hard, putting together the best team on the planet, get one gold medal for that. Whereas someone like Katie Ledecky will win 5 or 6 of them because she wins the 800, the 1600, the relays, the medleys, whatever that they do. She's part of the team, and they can win so many more in swimming. So it kind of depends on which events your country excels in. In China, and there's different events in terms of like there's like the shooting events and the judo with the different weight classes, events that have multiple medals available, whereas some sports just have the Olympic golf tournament. You got one for men, one for women. That's it. One gold, one silver, one bronze. So it's hard to really calculate what's important. Honestly, I think what's truly important, and this is
that everybody has fun.
Well, yeah, and they show off good sportsmanship. And I think in the Olympics, it's more important than anywhere else. But I thought one of the best moments of the Olympics happened yesterday. And it actually came on Simone Biles' worst day at the Olympics. She had her final 2 individual events. She fell off the balance beam. Everyone was falling off. She ended up finishing 5th, not even medaling when she could have won a gold. And then she got deducted a couple of points when she stepped out of bounds on her incredible floor exercise and ended up settling for silver instead of gold, which she was favored to win. So that's kind of a disappointing result, even though she's the GOAT, had an incredible Olympics, kind of a disappointing way to end it. But I thought the incredible moment at the end, and I don't know if anyone was watching or cares that much about gymnastics, but Biles got 2nd, and her teammate and friend Jordan Childs got 3rd for the bronze. But the winner was this girl, Rebeca Andrade from Brazil. I think that's how they pronounce it in Portuguese. And she kind of grew up in the favelas, which are, like the slums of Brazil, to turn into this world-class, really popular athlete that everybody loves. But she's always been competing in Biles' shadow. It's just like being, next to Tiger or Jordan or whatever. You can never be the best because you're competing in the era of the best. And she nailed her routine and won gold over Simone for, her first individual gold, I think. And on the podium, both Biles and Childs on the side did like the bow, like to her, like,
cool.
To congratulate. It's such an amazing picture and such a great show of sportsmanship, not for a teammate, but for a competitor, but to show that kind of respect for someone from another country getting together to do this is really what the Olympics are all about. And I know this is an after-school special, the more you know, Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing. But if not in the Olympics, then when are you going to do that? Because so often nowadays, and maybe you need to pull out the green boomer filter that you say for Woods a lot, it's easy to get attention for being outlandish and, being Antonio Brown or Tio or whatever and being all about, me and social media and everything. And to see someone get attention for being a good sportsman and appreciating their competition.
Like, can you imagine Michael Jordan losing in the NBA Finals and
bowing down to
whoever beat him?
Charles Barkley, who beat him finally. No, you can't.
Absolutely.
And that's not. It's not a good thing that necessarily that Michael Jordan was so ultra competitive that he was kind of a poor human on the basketball court, at least. I mean, he was.
He was a lunatic.
He was a lunatic. And, it's not like Simone Biles is any less competitive. She's the GOAT. She's proven that she's the best. But she could take that moment and show, I can be a good sportsman as well. I love that. All right, we got some callers on the line. Let's get to it. Let's take on John. John's done very well in this game of Take on John, which is brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. Let's get right to it. Let's go to line 3. Who's this? Are you there?
Hello?
Hey.
Is this Chad?
Hi. Yes.
Chad, congratulations. You're in for our contestant today for Take on Woods. You want to play, right?
Yep.
All right, let's see if you can do it. If you can beat or tie John, you will qualify for our grand prize 2-night stay, Resorts World tickets to Carrie Underwood. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com and RWLasVegas.com. Get right to the category choices for today. Still have The Afterlife sitting there. 5 song titles and artists, including the word after. Hold, Please. 5 song titles to begin with the word hold. And our new category, Sprechen Sie Deutsch. 5 bands or artists who made it big around the world from Germany, or with German songs. So, The Afterlife, Hold Please, or Sprechen Sie Deutsch. Chad, what do you want to play?
Let's try Hold Please.
Hold Please. Okay. Today we're looking for 5 song titles that begin with the word hold. You'll have 60 seconds. If you don't know one, you can pass. We'll come back to it if there's time left on the clock. First question is our 2-second song. Paulie is getting ready to play you some music. You need to identify both that song title and the artist to score the point and get the full credit there. So, Chad, are you ready to play?
Let's do it.
All right, let's put 60 seconds on the clock. Again, the category hold, please. All your answers will start with the word hold. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Chad. Let's take on John.
Hold On by The Cars.
Oh, incorrect. Love is in Always on Time, in which 1977 hit by Toto.
Pass.
Which 1994 debut single was a breakout hit for the band Hootie and the Blowfish?
Hold My Hand.
Correct. The Thompson Twins had their biggest hit with which 1983 new wave song?
Hold On.
Ooh, not correct. 1966 and 1967 were good years for the R&B duo Sam and Dave, who recorded their 2 biggest hits, Soul Man and which other classic of the genre?
Hold On, Baby.
Oh, not quite. Let's go back to Love Isn't Always on Time, in which 1977 hit by Toto. Time is up. That one was Hold the Line. Love Isn't Always on Time. 2-second song was Hold On Loosely, 38 Special. You got Hold My Hand. Hold Me Now by the Thompson Twins. And Hold On, I'm Coming by Sam and Dave. Is he out there? Do you see him? You don't see him.
No, he's here.
Oh, he's here.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Making sure he's not cheating.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Pull the chat.
Oh, let's pull the chat down. No, look at the chat because they put some of the answers up. All right, Chad, hang on the line. Chad's score is locked in. John has done very well, and we appreciate again. Last day with Woodsy out of town, so.
You guys got time for a quick story?
Yeah, please.
So I've been out of my house since last Saturday, not this past, but the weekend before. No, gas leak.
Ooh.
Yeah, so.
Potential for explosion.
Right. Thank you, Ben. So I been staying with my daughter and her boyfriend in Del Mar, and I get home last night. It's been great, actually. I don't know how it's been for my daughter's boyfriend, but it's great to be able to hang out with my daughter more. Anyway, I get there last night. I get there last night, and they're watching you guys on YouTube. They don't listen to my show ever. So, congratulations. You got a couple tier 1s in Del Mar. One of them is my daughter.
And boyfriend. We really
Abby and
appreciate
Zach.
it. Well, if you're listening right now, you can cheer Dad on in today's game. The category is Hold Please.
Hold Please.
Hold Please.
Okay.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, John. Let's take on Chad.
Hold On Loosely, 38 Special.
Correct. Love Isn't Always on Time, in which 1977 hit by Toto.
Hold the Line.
Correct. Which 1994 debut single was a breakout hit for the band Hootie and the Blowfish?
Hold My Hand.
Correct. The Thompson Twins had their biggest hit with which...
Hold Me Now.
Correct. 1966 and 1967 were good years for the R&B duo Sam and Dave. Recorded their 2 biggest hits, Soul Man and which other classic of the genre? Take your time. You've already won the game, so
okay.
I will let you think for another...
Sam and Dave. I know they did
20,
Soul
25
Man.
seconds, I think. You'll know it.
Ho-
You got it. Yeah, I know you can hear it. It's in your head. Cue it up for him in a second here, Paulie. That's a good song.
Right? It's a great song. I don't know. It's escaping me. I'm not going to get it.
Hold on, I'm coming. There. Oh,
you have
I didn't. When you said cue it up, I thought you were going to cue up the music.
Boy, that's going to be a drop later on the show, isn't it?
Oh,
that is the actual.
I've actually got him. I've just looked. I have him saying it 3 other times, but
I
now I have a couple of different ways.
John,
put that at the end of the like segment next time.
I'm coming.
Love this song. So how did I do?
You won 4-1.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah, another win for John. Very well done this week. I think you had one tie, but otherwise you held your own while Woods was gone.
I've enjoyed myself very much.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Johnny. Thank you to
Thanks,
your daughter
Johnny.
and boyfriend for tuning in this morning, and that's it for Take on John, at least until Woods goes on vacation again. All right, let's get to traffic. We'll come back. Don't Do This includes some Ben Higgins just funny flub audio.
Yes.
Nothing,
Major League Broadcast flubs.
Nothing outrageous. Just a couple of ones that made us chuckle from a couple of broadcasts last night. So we'll get to that coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Seeing some good suggestions from the tier ones. A John versus Woods, like all-star take on Woods, is something I would like to see happen as well.
Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah, the two champs going head-to-head. And, John, I give the category. That may have to stop as well because he's getting pretty good at it as well. Yeah, he's close to Woods. I don't think he's quite there, like Ken Jennings against James Holzhauer in Champions Jeopardy, but pretty good on both of them, and I would like to see it head-to-head. Would come down to probably some of the music and different categories on different days. We may need to do like a best of 5 or something for a week, and really to determine a true champion between the two of them. All right, Don't Do This is brought to you by the Craft Taco in Sorrento Valley. Craft Taco is some of the best quality tacos in all of San Diego. Go to thecrafttaco.com. Take a look at their happy hour specials today. thecrafttaco.com. And the streak rolls on, Paulie. Last night, the Chicago White Sox, trying to avoid some American League history, were unable to do so, losing their 21st consecutive game, tying the American League record. They fell on the road 5-1 to the second worst team in the American League, the Oakland Athletics. It was a 1-1 game until the fourth and a 2-run tie-breaking single. White Sox never scored again, and they have now matched the 1988 Baltimore Orioles, who started the year 0-21 and now have company in the American League record. There's still records to be had. The National League record since 1900, held by the 1961 Philadelphia Phillies, who lost 23 straight. Now, there is even a further record beyond that. If you really want to dig way back into the baseball annals, the 1889 Louisville Colonels from the American Association, which was kind of the precursor to even the American League in Major League Baseball, they lost 26 straight. In a year, they went 27-111. Could it get that far? I don't know. If they don't beat the A's this series, and if they don't, they will tie the National League record, the 23. Who knows when that next win is coming? Couple quotes from after the game from Pedro Grifol. We talk about it every day. Everybody knows what it is. It's 21 in a row. It sucks. It's painful. It hurts. You name it. Like I said, it's not lack of effort. And then Frank Thomas, who's on their postgame show, White Sox Hall of Famer, said it's time to snap. The only way through the players right now. Snap. I'm serious. I don't want to hear no more. We're trying. No more. They're working hard every day. Nope. It's time to snap. It's time to kick over the spread. Change something up. But last time the White Sox won.
God, I get it. They're not playing the same team 21 times in a row, but like you would think they got to win one.
I mean, you would think. They haven't won since July 10th. So we are approaching a full month since their last win. And even on July 10th, they lost because that was a doubleheader and they split it. So, I mean, if you're a White Sox fan, you've seen a loss pretty much the entire month. So they're now 27-88. I mentioned that the A's are the second worst team. They're 20 and a half games behind the A's, who are the second worst team in the American League right now.
20 and a half behind the A's.
The A's. And they are on pace to finish 38-124, which would be the most losses since the 1899 Cleveland Spiders went 20-134. I think that one is that one's out of reach since they already have 27 wins. But other than that, it's going to be a history-making season in a bad way for the Chicago White Sox.
Well, speaking of the Oakland A's, that brings us to our next Don't Do This. And one of two MLB broadcaster flubs that we played them this morning before the show started, and they got a little chuckle out of me. They got the chortle, a chortle out of Ben.
A chortle.
So this one goes to the A's broadcast, and no, I'm sorry. This is actually the Chicago broadcast. This is NBC Sports Chicago, but they're talking about the A's Mason Miller, and they have a sponsor read for their injury report.
It's time now for our injury report presented by Well Now Urgent Care and the All-Star Closer.
Well Now Urgent Care is the line. Well Now Urgent Care.
It's time now for our injury report presented by Well Now Urgent Care and the All-Star Closer.
Urgent Kill.
Sounds like a pesticide or something.
Yeah. I don't think that's what they want to do when you go to urgent care.
It's time now for our injury report presented by Well Now Urgent Care and the All-Star closer.
That's a good flub right there. That's a funny, innocuous, good flub.
And then another flub, this one coming from the Philadelphia Phillies broadcast, and they were talking about Bryce Harper, and I guess he was wearing his pants rolled up, showing the socks and the stirrups.
A little calf showing down there with the long socks.
And that one is in for a strike. It's 3-1.
Well, just as Bryce went with his pants up, I'm not sure I've seen Garrett with his pants down. That didn't sound right, did it?
It sure did not. Here's the 3-1. A swing and a mess.
Oh, sometimes things happen up here. What I mean by he doesn't have his pants folded up under the knee.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Not really what you meant.
Well, just as Bryce went with his pants up, I'm not sure I've seen Garrett with his pants down. That didn't sound right, did it?
At least they had fun with it. That's
a
great.
good one. I hope they have people who save those and like you, and just can bring them up whenever they want off a soundboard somewhere.
Hey, dummy,
Fantastic.
remember that one time.
All right, little do this here.
DD mega doo-doo.
Could have saved the Simone Biles, Jordan Childs moment. Was a very much a do this moment. But how about this one? This is actually a follow-up. Remember the story from earlier this year? It was figured prominently on Don't Do This when a Jackie Robinson, the statue in Wichita, Kansas, was like vandalized, stolen, destroyed. And, huge investigation, hate crime. They determined they were just trying to steal like the metal and melt it down and sell it, whatever it was. Still a horrible thing to do, to wreck and steal a Jackie Robinson statue. But here's the do this and the good news. Yesterday evening, a replacement, a new statue has been unveiled in the city park where it was stolen. 6 months later, Bob Lutz, who is the executive director of League 42, they were able to raise the funds, get it replaced at McAdams Park, which is a local youth league park where Jackie Robinson's statue has been sitting there. So it's a good ending to a story that was a pretty bad one earlier this year, and it's good to see that Jackie Robinson statue back there.
Yes.
And that's Don't and Do This for a Tuesday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, when we come back, we're getting ready for Erik Greupner, the CEO of the Padres, to join us at the top of the hour. I know he's coming on because he wants to talk about season ticket renewals. The letter went out to season ticket members last night. If you've got some thoughts, Padres fans, I've seen mixed reaction to what the Padres say is the small increase in ticket prices for 2025 to keep your season seats. You can join us. We can also go through the action last night in Major League Baseball. We got a wild card race that is heating up in the National League. It is as close as it has been all season long. We'll get to that coming up. If you want to get on the line, 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. You can give us a call during the break. Come back with more Ben and Paul on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Just saw what I thought was an intelligent take about the Padres season ticket renewal email that was sent out yesterday. I'm going to talk about that here. Erik Greupner, CEO of the Padres, is going to join us at the top of the hour. But if you're a season ticket member and you want to join us and talk about what was announced last night, the email that you got from the Padres, you can call us 833-288-0973. Essentially, though, and I saw a copy of the email. And the Padres announced, I think it's the fourth straight season, that ticket prices are going to go up in 2025. However, unlike the last couple of years where there were more significant increases when the team added significant payroll, this year's increase is a lot smaller. And the Padres say it's an average of 3%. Now, your tickets may vary. It may be a little bit more than that. It may be a little bit less than that. The Padres even say some tickets will be a little bit less next year, but the average increase next season is 3%. And Padres fans, have to do the calculus every single year and decide, is it worth it to me to renew my season tickets at a slightly higher price for next year? And I'm certainly not going to tell you how you want to spend your money. It's, season tickets are a pricey commodity, especially here in San Diego. I'll throw a little logic at you first, and I'll say, a 3% increase, if you compared it, let's say you're paying, $4 a gallon for gas. I know it's a little bit more than that, but just to keep it simple, a 3% increase would then be about $4.12 for a gallon of gas.
A year from now.
Yeah, a year from now. It's not good. Sucks that you're paying more for gas, but that's not shocking in any way. I wouldn't expect someone to go, I'm done. I'm not buying gas anymore. It's 3% higher than it was a year ago. So in that sense, 3% doesn't seem overly outrageous. Now, we're talking with season tickets, especially if you get the full
gas
gold.
Gas is kind of a necessity.
Yeah, and we're talking about if you got the full gold package, it's not $4. You're paying, several $1,000s. So 3% can still be, a couple hundred to more higher than you were paying last year. Now, per game, it may only be $1 or so, $2 or $3 more per game, but over the course of the season, that may be another $250, $400, depending on how good your seats are and how much you're paying for individual tickets. So that's just kind of the math that goes through my head. But there was a take that I want to get to from someone in our chat that was pretty savvy and advanced, I thought. So let's take your phone calls, and we'll get to that right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Got a few things that might slow you down. Crash on southbound 5 near the 52. It's now over to the right shoulder. Also traveling on the westbound King Freeway at 25th Street. A collision not showing if lanes are blocked. Stall car middle lanes, northbound side of the 805, right before Market Street. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station. 97.3 The Fan.
Now let's go out to the phones for a second here and see what some Tier 1s and season ticket members have to say. Or if you're not, you can have an opinion on this subject as well. Just go right to the top of the board. Andrew, welcome. You're on 97.3 The Fan with Ben and Paul this morning. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
How you doing, man? Do you have? Are you a season ticket member?
Good. I don't.
Okay.
I have in the past. My parents have in the past, but they've weighed the decision, and they're currently not season ticket holders anymore. So I definitely think it's expected if you have tickets that prices will go up. So that's
sure.
That's my thought on that. But then, and otherwise, as far as how the Padres are doing right now,
sure.
Forget about the wild card race. Just win the division.
It's the best route. Padres dropped a half game to the Dodgers last night, who won their game against the Phillies, a close game, but pulled it out. So they're 5 games behind. Certainly got 3 left against the Dodgers late in the season. We said this week might be a good week to catch up. Dodgers get off to a good start. They got the Phillies this week. They got the Pirates and Paul Skeens later in the week. So you want to make up at least 2 to 3 games, I would say, before the end of August. If you're going into September and you're still 5-6 back, that's a huge mountain to climb. Then you pretty much have to have an unbelievable month of September, but it's definitely doable. I even if you're a baseball traditionalist, I love that there's both the division and the wild card route to the playoffs. I mean, the Padres essentially are in 2 playoff chases right now. One where they're trying to chase down the Dodgers, which could come with even a bye in the first round of the playoffs. So that's a worthy aim. I mean, go for it if you can, because you may get to skip the wild card round entirely. And then there's, of course, the wild card, which is tied with 3 teams for 3 spots. And I think the Mets are a game and a half back, but the Diamondbacks, Braves, and Padres are all tied atop the standings. It's going to be a really fun last month and a half of the season. Let's go to Darren. Darren, you're next up here on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you this morning?
Good.
What's up, Darren?
Good, guys. Hey, so I am a season ticket holder, so I just want to lay out what it's like for us, especially after this last increase. So we started getting tickets in 2021. Obviously, the reason we did that is because they had that limited capacity because of COVID, so we wanted, to get in. Immediately after that, there was an increase. And then,
same, by the way.
2022.
Same. I bought tickets. That's when I bought my season tickets with Woodsy. We split a season.
And I think a lot of people did.
Yep.
So then, obviously, 2022 was magical. We got to go to postseason games. So, of course, we renewed, and there was an increase. And, of course, we expected there, to be an increase. But then after last year, you have Greupner, and I don't know if he came on this station or the other station, but he virtually said to fans, like, hey, if you don't buy these tickets, someone else will. And that was kind of the marketing ploy. So to fans, after 2023, where the team, they gave up, right? That's not even up for debate anymore. That's what happened, is the prices went up and fans were essentially told, hey, you are replaceable. So to me, this increase means 3 things. Number 1, it does mean that the Padres are telling you the fans are replaceable. Number 2, it means that they're not guaranteeing that the money's going to stay on the field. Payroll came down this year, and it's going to come down again next year. That's not linear with season ticket prices. Number 3, which I think is probably, the most frustrating, is it just seems like a lack of transparency of we want the money to stay on the field, and people are willing, to do that. They're willing to pay more for a premium product. But last year, we saw the opposite of a premium product, but the prices still went up. This year, we haven't yet seen if they're, a playoff team. We certainly hope they are, and it's been fun. But they're not even waiting to see what the product fulfills this year to, charge us more money. So as a fan, it's just frustrating, and it's starting to feel less like we're appreciated and more like we're kind of being milked right now. So frankly, that's kind of how I feel, and I think a lot of people agree.
You bring up some good points, Darren. The Padres usually announce the season ticket renewals right around now, and you don't know how the season is necessarily going to end. But I will say, and this isn't a defense of the Padres, it's just kind of an explanation. The Padres will plan. They didn't decide last night what the season ticket increase was. This is part of like a 5 to 10 year plan of where they think prices will be going. And when they invested, $200+ million payroll last year, they thought, okay, and then we're probably going to, hopefully make a deep playoff run, and that'll hopefully be able to sustain another ticket price increase to help pay for all these star players that we got. Well, they increased the payroll, didn't have the really good season. And then it was like, well, we had already decided we were going to increase prices. Now, this year, they've decreased the payroll, and they're still increasing the prices. Now, it's much smaller, but they're also playing way better. So you don't really know. The one thing you can't plan for as a team is what the results on the field are. You know what you can maybe invest in the team payroll-wise, but you don't know how it's going to perform on the field. And you've already made a lot of those decisions about where you kind of think you might adjust a little bit, like, oh, we're having a pretty down season, maybe we should scale back the increase, or wow, we surprised, like last year. I don't know what the Arizona Diamondbacks did, but if they sent out their season ticket renewals in August, and they probably said, yeah, I don't think we can charge any more. This team's not doing that well. Then they went to the World Series. Now, maybe individual ticket prices went up at that point, but I would hope some season ticket members got a nice deal when they locked in early and then all of a sudden went to the World Series. But the comment I saw from Civil Luthi in the chat, which resonated with me, and I think just logically, I wonder if Padres fans, even season ticket members, see this. He said, or she said, prices are determined by demand. Okay, that makes sense. Obviously, supply and demand is economics 101. If the team undercuts itself, resellers just get more money. I'd rather the team get the money. And I thought about that, and I said, okay, the Padres could be good citizens and go, you know what, this is more than just a business. This baseball team's part of our community.
Let's say the average price right now is $50 a ticket, and they slashed it down to $10.
We want everyone to get in for $10.
Average price.
What would happen? Everyone would go, "You're amazing, Padres. This is fantastic. You're selling all the tickets for $10." Well, yeah, there'd be a lot of season ticket members, but there also
they would
be
sell the season out.
They're
81 games, all 46,000 seats in minutes.
Well, let's say they still limit it though to 20,000 season ticket members plus, and then they still have the individual tickets in which people can then, including ticket brokers, could then go buy all those $10 seats, and season ticket members could resell them on StubHub. Well, if every game's sold out, what are you going to pay for your Padres ticket on the resale market? Still $80, $100, $120. So now all those resale tickets, which my guess would be is a large percentage of every game, whether it's season ticket members who aren't going or individual tickets that are bought through the various websites.
Dude, open up your phone right now and open up StubHub.
How many are available
Game
for
Time,
the next game?
Vivid Seats, whatever. There's TickPick. There's so many different options now for the secondhand market. There are thousands of tickets.
So all those tickets are still getting sold, but then it's the ticket brokers who are making all the money and not the Padres. Who it's their product, it's their payroll, it's their players that they're paying and using your ticket prices to pay their salaries. I can see why you can't just slash prices because you haven't been doing great. If people are still filling Petco Park, then they're going to fill Petco Park regardless. And who should be getting the cost of the tickets, the Padres or the secondary market? I guess it's the Padres in my mind. Let's go
At
to.
least you would assume the money then goes back into the team in some capacity.
I mean, and they have been putting it back in the team more than they ever have before. But again, if they keep slashing payroll like they did this last year, and there were competitive reasons to do it this last year. But then if they go another, $40 million down, I mean, then you would have to definitely.
Is there any indication that they will or won't do that?
We don't really know. We don't really know what's going to happen next year. If they're going to keep it at the same level, if they're going to go down, or if they're going to go back up. There's been no indication of what that is for next year. But what you're paying for is next year's team right now for those season tickets. Mm-hmm. We don't know. I mean, if they keep Dylan Cease and they keep Luis Arraez, who are both under contract next year, they may want to extend a Jackson Merrill and do other things. They could invest that money back in the team. But I guess that remains to be seen. I know the track record, though, with A.J. Preller, and we'll see what happens in the post-Peter Seidler era, has been absolutely they've reinvested tons of money in the team.
So I guess let me ask you, do you view it as, is it a bad look, or is it smart business, or is it just the way things work, in your opinion, when you see payroll go down and season ticket prices go up?
I don't know. I mean, I think inflation this last year has been about 3.5% over this last year.
Yeah, 3.5%.
So essentially, a 3% increase is just kind of keeping pace with what's going on everywhere. I mean, I'm not trying to sell it, but if you could get by and you could have said we're not going to increase it all this year, it's a big PR win at least, right? I mean, is it worth it for the 3%? It's a business. I don't run a business. I'm not a CEO. This is a big-time company. I don't know what economics work for the San Diego Padres, but they're certainly going to face some criticism. I saw people in my timeline going, I can't do it anymore. That's it. I can't take another increase.
And I feel for those people, and I feel a little bit conflicted because I'm no longer a season ticket holder or partial season ticket holder anymore, so it's kind of like, should I even have an opinion on it? But it does seem at its core to be a pretty simple supply and demand issue. And on a smaller scale, like I expect, like you mentioned gas prices earlier. Gas, you need gas. You need to buy gas. You don't need to go to an amusement park, but I would assume amusement park prices probably go up by about 3% or more.
You've tried to go to Disneyland lately? Yeah, I mean everything.
But if I'm going, because you're going to an elite, well-run organizational place, like if you're going to the worst amusement park, it's probably going to cost cheaper. But Petco Park is not the worst amusement park. In fact, it's one of the best. So I do understand that, but I also can totally 100% sympathize with somebody that's going, I'm already spending a small fortune on my season tickets. I've been a season ticket holder for 10 years. You slash payroll. We didn't re-sign or keep Juan Soto, Blake Snell, Josh Hader, etc. We had to let them go to payroll issues, and yet the tickets are going up. that sucks. I understand that as well.
Ultimately, the fans actually have all the power here. And if the Padres truly are charging too much, they will see it. They will not see the renewals that they're hoping for. They will not see the sellouts going forward. But as Adam Klug said in the chat, they're selling out almost every game, well over half the games. Of course they're raising prices. What business that sells everything out doesn't then raise prices a little bit? I mean, that is not unique to the Padres. It's not unique to Major League Baseball. It's not unique to sports. It's unique to any venue. If you've got a popular concert, I mean, Taylor Swift, when she sells out every stadium, are those tickets, is she keeping them at $15, Paulie? I haven't been, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty pricey to go to a Taylor Swift concert.
Speaking as somebody that bought tickets for his wife and him last year, wasn't $15. I'll tell you that.
And she's not a bad person because her ticket prices are expensive for her sold-out concert. She treats she treats her employees or whoever, the people who put on the concert or the crew really well. We've seen those stories. If the Padres are doing that, and that's what they're doing, and they're treating their players well and running the organization well, that's one thing. If they're doing it badly, if they're like the Oakland A's, like one thing that I saw was that the Oakland A's are jacking up ticket prices for the finale because it's the last game in Oakland. That really sucks because they're not treating their fans or anyone well. And I think I
don't like the dynamic pricing, but I get it. I also get it.
Yeah, but I also feel like anyone who says the Padres haven't at least been trying to treat their fans well, give them a good experience.
The A's have no grounds to raise ticket prices literally ever.
No.
Like they have not earned the benefit of the doubt. I know the Padres, I'm pretty sure it was a recent thing that they started doing like dynamic ticket pricing. A Friday night game against the Dodgers is going to cost a little bit more on a single ticket price than a Wednesday afternoon against, the White Sox. And that's just because there's a higher demand. And I get that.
All right. Well, we will bring some of these questions and concerns to the CEO of the Padres. Erik Greupner is going to join us coming up here at the top of the hour. And the timing is not, surprising. This is certainly something I'm sure he wanted to address when we scheduled him to come on today. So we will talk about some of these issues with the guy who's in charge. Coming up next, don't go away. More Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Paulie says I should jump in and not let the entire Jukebox Hero play like we usually do on Tuesdays when we're just kind of casually coming back for the second half of the show because we have Padres CEO Erik Greupner on the line. Maybe I should just ask Erik Greupner, though. Do you want to hear, Erik, all of Jukebox Hero here for our reopen, or do you just want to start kind of just getting going with the interview?
Love Jukebox Hero.
Yeah.
Let's get at it.
Let's get at it. All right, we'll get at it. Welcome back. It is Ben, Paulie. Woods will be back tomorrow. But today we've got the CEO of the Padres, Erik Greupner, who is on. And first of all, Erik, I mean, a lot of excitement, especially here since the All-Star break, a no-hitter, winning 11 of your first 14 games since the break. You got a wild card race. You got a division race with the Dodgers. I'd imagine it's a fun time to be there at the offices at Petco Park.
It's a great time. A lot of energy in the office, a lot of energy in the ballpark. All starts with our fans. I mean, they've just been willing a lot of this into existence all year long, showing up, continuing to just bring passionate support for this team. And we've got an outstanding manager, Mike Schilt, that from spring training on has preached you get better as the season goes, you get better as the game goes. And I think we're starting to really see that play out over the course of this season.
I know you sent out those season ticket renewal emails last night, and we're going to talk about it. But I first want to ask you, because you just talked about the job Mike Schilt has done, and I remember back in spring training, you were standing next to Eric Katsenda and talking about, everybody has goals and is going to be evaluated, including A.J. Preller and Mike Schilt and everybody in your office. And I get it. There's still a couple of months left, and those final evaluations won't come until after the season is over. But just in the view of the CEO, the job that first of all, the president of baseball operations, A.J. Preller, has done this season in your mind.
I think AJ's done an outstanding job. And AJ will be the first to tell you that it's more than just him. He has an outstanding group of people around him, but he is the leader on that side of our operations. And I think going back to earlier, right before the season started, to make the acquisition of Dylan Cease, to then acquire Luis Arraez, those are arguably two of the biggest trade deadline acquisitions. They were just made significantly earlier in the season. So I think the sense to know when players might be available a little off cycle, go get them, and get them opportunistically when they're available, and not have to compete against 6, 7, 8 other teams as we did at the deadline with a lot of the players that we were interested in. I think turns out to be a real stroke of genius this year. And a lot of the pieces that were added to this team to really complete and lengthen the lineup, whether it be Donovan Solano or David Peralta, I think have really performed at or above a level that we could have expected. Jurickson Profar. And then, just really going back to the Juan Soto trade and the pieces that we got back, whether it was Michael King or adding controllable, pieces to the starting rotation for years to come, potentially in Vasquez and Brito and Kyle Higashioka has, really come through in some key moments for us. So, I think all the way up until the deadline and then through the deadline, we've just continued to improve this team. And I think you're starting to see that on full display now that we're in the stretch run here at the end of the season.
Are you okay? I mean, AJ, again, very aggressive at the trade deadline, adding two of the top relievers in the game, but obviously sending out a lot of those prospects out there. I mean, as an organization, you're okay with that strategy?
I think it's always going to be a balance for us in this market. As I've said previously, I think we have to continue to develop the Jackson Merrills, players that we draft and develop and then bring to the major league level. And for a number of years, they have high impact at the major league level while making a league minimum or through their arbitration years, less money than big free agents. We've made long-term commitments to a lot of big free agents, and so we have to have that balance. And you find that balance a few different ways. Hopefully, more often than not, you're finding it through homegrown talent, players that you've drafted and developed in your system. There's also times where coming back in trades. I mentioned a moment ago the Juan Soto trade. I think even Jason Adam and others that still have a number of years of control. Sometimes you get players back in trades. And then, you stack up good drafts year after year after year, and you continually replenish that farm system. And that is AJ's area of expertise with the group of advisors that he has around him in our baseball operations team. And I think at the end of the day, we trust that the assessments of who's going to have a long-term impact at the major league level are being done correctly. And I believe to date, nobody bats 1,000, but I think there's been a lot of really good decisions made on long-term impact players that we've kept in our system. Leo DeVries, Ethan Salas, others that we already have in our system. I think there's a lot of talent still left in the system that's going to come. And you don't get established, high leverage relievers in a trade market like we had this year without being willing to pay, a price to get those players. It's a competitive trade market. And I think, if anything, this just signals that we continue to be all in on trying to win a World Series championship for San Diego.
Talking to Padres CEO Erik Greupner here on 97.3 The Fan. And as we mentioned, the season ticket renewal email that went out yesterday. And I think for fans, the most important thing is they want to see winning and see the Padres go for a championship, which you've definitely been trying to do. But fans are also usually family members, and for families, usually the budget is the most important thing. And I know you guys take it seriously. So what's you announced a small increase from last year, about 3%, according to the email. Some will be a little bit more, some will be less, as the email said. What's the case, and what goes into the decision-making process for you guys when it comes to deciding on season ticket renewals for next season?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we put a tremendous amount of time and intentionality into that analysis, and it begins first and foremost with the continued commitment that we've made to the ballpark. Even though we didn't have a year this year where we increased payroll year over year, in fact, we've gone in a different direction this year. We've had a sustained period, extended period of years where we have really significantly increased payroll. And that's all been an effort to field year in and year out a competitive team that can compete for the playoffs and the World Series championship. And the reality of it is that comes at a cost. And I've said this before, but, the outlook that we've had for years and continue to have is, we are looking to put the very best team we can on the field. And that may look, the approach to doing that may look a little different one year versus another. But at the end of the day, that baseline commitment is there. And we're not looking to make money off of running the operation of the team. We're looking to put anything that we can generate by way of increased revenue completely back into the team and run it in a responsible way, in a way that is hopefully continues to be competitive year in and year out. So the reality of that is, inflation has, for most of the year, I think, been running in excess of 3%, but we felt like 3% was a fair and reasonable amount of increase this year, reflecting the rising costs we have of operating the business and maintaining a competitive team on the field. It was definitely at the very low end of the range that we looked at, and is meant to be a message to the fan base that nobody ever likes prices going up, even if it's only 3%. But at the end of the day, we're trying to be as reasonable as we can and acknowledge the fact that our fans are the best in baseball. They continue to show up and support us in record numbers. There's high demand to come see this team, and we're just incredibly grateful for our fans and the response that we've had and their willingness, to continue to come back and hopefully support us again next year.
Eric, you mentioned in that email obviously the huge changes at Gallagher Square, which have been very well received, and you also mentioned additional, quote, impactful improvements in this coming off season. I don't know if there's anything you can share with us, but what are some of the things that maybe you could, just in terms of the future plans for Petco Park and keeping it the number one ballpark in baseball?
Yeah, so we're not quite ready yet to share publicly the details of what we plan to do this offseason, but we have a couple of projects that are going to be really impactful. They're going to focus on the Western Metal Building, and so we're excited when the time is right to share those details with our fans and the public. And that's really what I was referencing there, and it's going to be a couple of projects all within the envelope of the Western Metal Building. And we try to really methodically continue on a multi-year phased approach to maintain and improve the ballpark in a way that keeps it looking no more than 5 years old. That's our standard. Obviously, the 20th anniversary of the ballpark this year, we're really proud of the way that it looks. and the way that it functions for our fans. But every year we're looking at ways to continue to improve fan experience, taking feedback from our fans through regular surveys, and then ultimately continually making the investment into the ballpark every offseason to improve and maintain it.
I like that. It's a little teaser. Get people speculating on what might happen, but some excitement. Obviously, the Western Metal Building is a big part of the ballpark and one of the things that makes Petco Park distinct. Now, Gallagher Square, one of the improvements, with better sight lines and the hillside and the bigger screen, we've seen record crowds. You guys have been able to get more people in those seats, or not seats, but certainly in the area out there. How has that gone from a kind of a management standpoint? Obviously, you have to. The difference may seem small between 45,000 and 47, but you've gotten up over 47,000 just the last homestand with the new record against the Dodgers.
Yeah, we learned a lot, Ben, in the first 19 years of operating the ballpark, and in particular Gallagher Square, regarding just how we could optimize that space for fan experience. First and foremost for 81 home Padres games, and then secondarily to continue to fulfill the promise of more than a ballpark and all the other events, concerts and otherwise that we host there in Gallagher Square really has become a very vibrant part of the ballpark, and we've used it more and more and more as the years have gone on. So, I would just say to get that project done as we did in 4 months from start to finish is a testament to some really great leaders that we have in our area of ballpark operations and managing our construction projects, because to get anything done in 4 months, especially in the state of California, which is not necessarily streamlined to get projects done from a permitting and other perspective, was really a Herculean feat. And we're really pleased with the way that it came out. I think you mentioned a few of the attributes that have been really well received by the fans. First and foremost, creating an all-new sightline with the Tony Gwynn Terrace, elevating Mr. Padre by about 10 feet, so he's now visible from more of the ballpark, creating the Tony Gwynn tunnel underneath the terrace where a new generation of Padres fans can continue to learn about the great career and life, both on and off the field, of Tony Gwynn. And then to create, a new experience out there for families and kids with a all-new playground, wiffle ball field that's in a more optimal location, and then to triple the size of the video board. So now wherever you are in Gallagher Square, you've got a view of the game, not only a new sight line down to the field, but also you still feel connected to the game. So it's been really enjoyable for those of us that have put a ton of time and effort both into the planning and then the execution of that project to just walk out there and see our fans enjoy the space. And that's the ultimate reward, in what we do, is to see fans come and have a great time with people that they love, friends, family, kids, see generations of Padres fans connecting, cheering the team on, and just having a good time at the ballpark.
And then lastly, and not trying to jinx anything, but you guys have to plan no matter what. How do season ticket renewals impact potential playoff tickets and home games that could, possibly be happening at Petco Park in October?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're at a point now where we've continually grown what has become every year a new record level of a season ticket member base. And the reality of that is, and hopefully it's a reality we live this year in the postseason, but it's never been more important to be a season ticket member because, postseason tickets are increasingly scarce with the size of season ticket member base that we have right now. So if you think about it, it's a lot like opening day where we've got a lot of half-season plans. And if you have two half-season plans, inherently they don't have the same seat for every game, so you essentially double the number of people that get access to tickets for one game. And so we don't anticipate there being a ton of tickets available for public on sale during the postseason. The vast majority of those tickets will all be sold to our season ticket members through our pre-sale process. So it's really a great way for us to be able to say to our season ticket members, thank you. You continue to get priority for the postseason because of your longstanding commitment to the Padres and your support for this team. And as we saw in 2022, and hopefully we'll see again this year, our fans show up for the postseason like no other. That NLDS series against the Dodgers was magical. It was 90 Padres fans. It was a true home field advantage, and that matters most in the postseason. So we're calling on our fans to really support us down the stretch here, to continue to bring the energy night in, night out, which has just been outstanding this year. The players feel it, coaches feel it, we feel it in the front office. We're so incredibly grateful for it. And then if we do end up making the postseason, which is certainly our plan, to then welcome all those fans in for just an electric environment in the postseason and one of the best home field advantages in all of pro sports.
Erik, appreciate the time. Good luck to the team going forward on this road trip and the rest of the season, and hopefully we will see more playoff baseball in October at Petco Park. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Padres CEO Erik Greupner with us. And yes, I understand. I see you in the chat. They're not in the playoffs yet. Don't talk about it. You can't just wait until like the last day of the season when you clinch a playoff spot and then go, oh no, we need to plan for playoff series now. Do you want to sell some tickets? What do you want to do? They have to start planning now. That's how it works. And it's interesting what he said, because I hadn't thought about it in a long time, but I remember back in 1984 when I was growing up, and my dad and grandparents had season tickets. They had 4 seats, but it was half season. So they had the 41 game plan or whatever it was. So every other game, 4 tickets, which was cool. But then when the playoffs came around, you could get 2 tickets because it was only a half season plan. You couldn't get 4 because the other people who had the same tickets also wanted their tickets as well. So you just had to do 2. So it was always the harder decision. Well, who are we going to take to the game now? You can't take the whole family. You have to pick your favorite people who get to go to the game. So that is part of the equation when you have, half season ticket packages and stuff. When you get to the postseason, it will be harder to get those playoff tickets, which means you could either listen on 97.3 The Fan or watch on TV, but what if you're not there for a moment like Jake Cronenworth singling against the Dodgers and the rain falling and everybody singing together, and you go like, oh, I wanted to be there for that. That's always the risk when you're not at the game, that you don't get to experience that. But, hey, to everybody their own, everybody's budget. You all have to make your own decisions. Erik Greupner laid out how they do it, how they plan it, and I thought explained it pretty well. But anyway, if you've got some thoughts, you can join us, 833-288-0973. You can react to that, continue our conversation, and my colleague from ABC 10 News, Wale Aliyu, is going to be in studio to carry us through for the rest of Woods' vacation, which is now only got about an hour and a half plus left. And hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. We'll check traffic
Get
and
your
then
ass back here, Woods.
Return with more Ben and Woods next on 97.3 The Fan. Well, thanks again to Padres CEO Erik Greupner. Gave his case as to why you should renew your season tickets. That's fine. I appreciate that, and I certainly understand the argument. I went back to the that Civil Luthio had the comment in our earlier segment about, if they're selling out and the Padres lower ticket prices, you're just going to pay higher on the resale, and you're still going to get, pay through the nose for tickets. It's just not the Padres who are going to get it. I think this is the same kind of dry humor that I would employ. He doesn't have an LOL, though, but he says, hopefully the Padres suck for the next few years, and it lowers demand for tickets, so the prices do go down. That would be great.
I don't want that.
Well, exactly. I mean, what's the alternative here? Yeah, it's probably less expensive to go to a Chicago White Sox game right now. You probably get in for next to nothing if you want to go see if they're going to lose a 22nd game in a row today. Or, this is the alternative. And I've been to plenty of Padres seasons where it's been empty and ticket prices have been low. And, I've have a good time at the game. And you go and you don't really care if they win or not because it doesn't mean anything. I prefer this. I really do. Now, again, cost is high. It really is. And, you got other things that you need to spend your money on. And it's very sad if there are fans out there who wish they could go to games and they simply can't afford it. Yeah. But that's always going to be a reality for some people. And we'll see. I mean, if the Padres charge too much, the fans will let them know. You will see it. The attendance will go down, and ultimately they'll have to make a correction, and they'll have to figure out, well, okay, this isn't working for us, and we need to figure out the right level of what to charge, where we still get people in the seats, but aren't underselling our product as well. So I do appreciate Erik Greupner joining us and at least giving us their perspective. Again, 3% increase. I know it's more for some people. I saw people mentioning, there are the member perks, but they go, I wish we had more or different ones. That's kind of a personal preference thing as well. You were a member in 2021. I mean, do you feel like the perks were beneficial to you as a member?
Didn't have a ton. We had a very basic 40-game plan that me and Woods split, and kind of in a weird spot because I just wasn't really pursuing a lot of the member. Like we got discounts on merch and early access or early entry into the stadium.
10% off concessions, I think.
That's pretty much all that we did. I didn't go to like a member photo day or anything like that. And I've seen people have great experiences with that. I've had other people go, well, I got my ticket or my photo day announcement, but it was for a game that I didn't have tickets to. Like I had Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and member photo day was on a Thursday or something like that. So, that's something I'm sure that can always be improved. But ultimately, I think, I can understand perks being like a high, like that's something like simple and tangible that you can be like, I, as a season ticket holder, would like more of this.
We also, he mentioned the postseason coming up, and I saw this note yesterday or the other day, and I thought it was just worth mentioning. The Major League Baseball has announced a small change to how they're going to do the postseason this year, and that is a bit of flex scheduling. So apparently how it works is the World Series is scheduled to begin on October 25th, and if it goes all the way to a Game 7, it goes into early November. I think Jesse had said, hey, hopefully we're still calling games in early November. However, they have decided, and I think this is smart, if both the ALCS and the NLCS end in 5 games or less, then they're going to start the World Series on October 22nd. And they're not just going to have an extra, 5 or 6 days in between the Championship Series and the World Series. And if that's the case, even if it went 7 games, it would end in October and not November, which actually makes a lot of sense. If you can do it, there's no reason that you have to just wait until the date prescribed when both the teams are done and they're just sitting around. You're losing all your momentum.
You say that every year when there's like a sweep. You're like, so that team, they just got to wait around for
a week
plus before the next series begins.
So, and it's possible if one series is a sweep, the other goes 7. the team that swept will still have to wait around because you can't help that. But there's no reason if both series get over quickly in 4 or 5 games, you shouldn't just move on to the next series. So that's one small change they're making for the postseason coming up this year. The wild card series will begin on October 1st, which I believe is just two days after the last game of the regular season. If the Padres make the playoffs, obviously they could be at Petco Park if they're either the they probably won't be the third-seeded division champion. They could catch the Dodgers. I'd assume if they do, they would also catch the Brewers as well. I mean, it's not a guarantee. But if they're the number 1 wild card, they could host that best-of-3 series like they did in 2020. But if they're the 2 or 3 wild card like they were in 2022, they'd have to go on the road like they did to the New York Mets. And those 3 games would start. Usually they're just 3 days in a row, I think. So it'd be the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of October. So Major League Baseball this week announcing some of their plans coming up for the postseason this year. And obviously, fingers crossed that the Padres will be very much part of those plans. I did see the ESPN came out yesterday. They ranked their most likely wild card teams after the trade deadline. And they had the Padres second in the National League, behind only the Arizona Diamondbacks, who they said is their most likely wild card winner. Then the Padres, and then they went down from there. But the conference is pretty high. What was your fan graphs today? It was 75%?
Padres sitting at 75.
So, they're right now in a 3-way tie with the Braves and the Diamondbacks. But there are still plenty of teams that could catch any of those 3. The New York Mets are first up. They're a game and a half back. They won yesterday. Sean Manaea has been lights out. And I'm probably never going to get over the fact that Sean Manaea has found a new reinvigorated passion for working hard late in the season, which seemed to be missing back in 2022 when he finished so poorly and had nothing left in the playoffs for the Padres. But
and then
he's
came
been
out
pitching
and
well.
Said he was lazy.
Yeah. He's been pitching very well for the Mets all season long, but especially of late. And he pitched him to a shutout win yesterday. So they're 6 games above 500, game and a half back. Now they beat the Cardinals. Cardinals are now 4 out, and the Pirates are 4 out. Padres do well this series. They could pretty much take the Pirates out. The Cardinals struggle for a week. The Giants are 4.5. It would be nice if it was at least no more than a 4-team race for 3 spots. That makes everybody's job a little bit easier if you do it that. So we'll be keeping a close eye. It's time for scoreboard watching, no doubt about it. All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be joined by one of my other work colleagues, ABC 10 News anchor Wale Aliyu is in the building. Going to sit down with us for the remainder of the program today. We'll learn about his career, talk some sports, and hopefully just have a good time. Still have a Reindl Report coming up as well. Don't go away. It's Ben, and it is Paul, finishing up Woodsy's vacation today on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Oh.
Imagine if we had him in here. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile. You can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. Well, this is new territory for me coming up. I don't know that I have ever not had the deepest, richest voice on a radio program that I have hosted.
Good morning.
Uh-oh. But, I mean, now there's some competition here because joining me in studio, and it is a pleasure to see him, is my colleague for the about a year now?
But so it'll be 2 years in September.
2 years in September,
Great,
so a year
right.
and a half plus now. ABC 10 News anchor. You can catch him on the evening news with Kimberly Hunt most evenings. Wale Aliyu is sitting in with me for Woodsy here for the rest of the show today. Wale, thank you for getting up early and coming in.
It is good to be here. Where is the sound effect round of applause / excitement? Come on, I needed that. There we go. Thank you, San Diego. It's good to be here. It's good to see everybody.
It's good to have you. I'm going to ask you a little bit. I mean, even though you've been here for a year and a half, you're still kind of the new guy in town.
am.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit about your career and just get to know you a little bit more. In fact, I need to get to know you a little bit more. We've been in the Channel 10 building remodeling for most of the time Wale's been here. So we've all been kind of separated in temporary offices until the last couple of weeks when we moved into our new newsroom. And now Wale and I our desk mates. We are sitting right next
my
to each
desk
other.
buddy.
So I'm starting to learn a little bit more about Wale. But
You got to smell my food yesterday.
I did. You brought in something.
What was on the menu? What do we have?
It was like a
Some
pasta
kind of like
sort of
pasta,
thing.
tomato
Well, I
base.
bring
And
in.
he's like, what is that?
I mean,
I'm hungry.
We're just a normal office, just like everybody else. Everyone thinks, oh, TV, it's just glamorous. No, it's people microwaving stuff in the in the break room, just like everybody everywhere else. And like, what did you bring in? That's not great. You fight over the cookie. If people
Who
brought
in
cookies.
the fish? Who was that?
Who microwaved the fish in the break room? Got the same issues as everybody else. So we're going to check traffic, and we're going to chat with Wale Aliyu coming up here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. Well, the way people are driving this morning, can we trust that people can go through a drive-thru oil change without, trashing the place? Come on, people, focus. Got about 8 different accidents, one on the coastline, southbound 5. This is just past Santa Fe Drive. They managed to get everything over to the right shoulder. Crash did clear up on southbound 5 near the 52. Northbound side of the 5, just past Cesar Chavez Parkway, there is a collision involving a couple vehicles. They're moving into the center divide. We've also got northbound side of the 805 right before Imperial. 2-vehicle accident was blocking middle lanes. Managed to get it all over to the right shoulder. Crash on eastbound King Freeway at the northbound 15 connector ramp. And Cordell traffic cam shows a crash on westbound 8 just past College. It's mostly over to the right shoulder. Stop by into the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. And Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So, people sometimes ask me, how did you get into TV and radio? And my path into this life is very weird and unusual, and it's not really something most people can duplicate. I have never left San Diego.
Wow.
I grew up here. I started working radio, quickly switched over to TV, and I've been at Channel 10 for the past 20 years. The past 18 of them as the sports director. It's not how it usually works in TV. The normal course of events is you get your first job at kind of a smaller market, and then if you do well there, you move into maybe a mid-sized market, and then maybe a larger market. You start as a reporter and move up to an anchor. And Wale, I know your last stop, you came from Boston, right? So, but what's kind of been? Tell me a little bit about. I don't even know the answer to this. Your whole kind of progression of how you got into TV and how you ended up as the evening anchor on ABC 10 News.
I actually love sharing this story because it gives hope to some of your kids out there who might be listening. But I didn't know anything about journalism growing up. My parents would be watching the news, and I'd be like, that's boring. Put on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Let's have some fun. And then when I was 14 years old, my mom signs me up for this 2-year summer program. But the first year, they put me in a hospital doing some secretarial work, and I was bored out of my mind. I'm like, get me out of here. I begged the program organizers, please, 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 next summer, put me somewhere more fun. And they were like, I think we got just the thing for you. So they put me at a TV station. I grew up in Columbia, Missouri. It's halfway between St. Louis and Kansas City, for anyone who's familiar with the Midwest.
That's where Missouri Tigers are, right?
That is
That's
where the Missouri
school,
Tigers are for the Tigers fans. Shout out MIZ. So I'm already in a city with a prominent journalism school. This journalism school is ranked one of the best in the world. I just happen to be there. So they have their own TV station at the school. So it's an NBC affiliate. And so when I was 15 years old, they let me come and work in the newsroom. Then I'm just mind blown. This is so cool. Lights, camera, action. I knew nothing about journalism. And I started asking a million questions to everybody that works there. And they told me what classes to take, where to go to school, and all these things. And I just jumped right in. So I went to Mizzou. I worked in Columbia, Missouri for a couple years. Got laid off in 2008 during the craziness of recession. Substitute taught for a little bit. Got back in the business. Got a job in Dayton, Ohio. Used that to get a job in Cleveland, Ohio. I worked in New York City at flagship station there, WNBC. It's great market, top market. Then I've
heard of it. New York?
Yeah,
I've heard of that.
I wanted to do some anchoring, so I went to Boston, and then I used that to get a job here in San Diego.
So how has your experience then been? I mean, adjusting to San Diego is a different market than anywhere else, from what I've been told and from what I can glean. Not that I would know personally, but I've had enough people who kind of come in and just knowing, even on a sports fan level, San Diego is different than everywhere else. I mean, everywhere. I think there's a pride about where everybody lives and where you grow up, and you have pride in where you're from. But here in San Diego, we're kind of nutty about it. I mean, it's like if you're not San Diego, it sometimes can be hard to adjust and adapt and be accepted. How has that gone for you so far?
Bro, I love San Diego. First of all, okay, so when I would work in the, I mean, you're right. Everywhere you have this kind of ethnocentrism to where you are, and you kind of represent, hey, this is where I'm from. And every city I've lived and worked in has been great in its own way. But I first visited San Diego, let me tell you, in 2010. And growing up in the Midwest, we didn't have palm trees or beaches, oceans, none of that. So I see the city and I'm like, this city is gorgeous. If I could ever live and work here, it's a wrap. So I was already had an affinity for San Diego. So then I got this job offer and then I was like, heck yeah. And I freaking loved it, man. This place is amazing. Like, okay, so weather is important to me, right? And San Diego's got one of the best weathers in the country, if not the world, right? 60 to 80 degrees year-round, day, night, it's perfect. So that alone has been beautiful. The people here, everybody's nice. Like, you can't be mad. So I lived in New York City for a little bit, and I always joke about how in New York City, for anybody who's ever lived there or worked there, everyone, they kind of have the reputation of being a little mean, right? Like, they walk down the street with the fist clenched, like, I'm ready to fight whoever. I got my mace ready. And they're not bad people in New York City. It's just you're a product of your environment, right? So you're just like, I missed the train today. I'm late for work. Somebody stepped on my J's. Of course I have an attitude. But if you took those same people and you put them in San Diego, I promise you, they would be frolicking up and down the street near Petco. Like, they would just be happy-go-lucky people. Why? Because it's sunshine and rainbows here. And it's, San Diego's, I've adored it. I absolutely love living here. The beaches are great.
Now, I know you're a sports fan.
Yes.
How much have you adapted? Now, who are your kind of core teams growing up? Like your favorite fandom?
So I'm weird. So I've never really adopted I guess when growing up in Missouri, we had
Missouri Tigers, obviously.
Yeah, so I had my college team, but then we had some St. Louis and KC teams. You guys, LA took one of the St. Louis teams, the Rams. But so I would root for the Royals and the Cardinals and the Rams and the Chiefs. But other than that, I'm a big NBA guy, and we didn't have an NBA team.
This is the reason I brought him in, Paulie. I can have some basketball conversations with
basketball
Wale.
talk in.
That is my sport. I play it. I watch. Like, I'm huge. We grew up, so the closest teams were the Bulls and the Pacers in Missouri, and it was funny because everybody's a Jordan fan. I was a huge Reggie Miller fan growing up. That's like my all-time favorite guy, right? But yeah, and I've always never really adopted teams though. I've always I root for players. So right now I have some favorite players, but I'll root for any team that my favorite player is on. So if my favorite players get traded, I'm rooting for that team.
You would, I don't know if you had a chance yet to go to a San Diego State basketball game.
Yes.
It is,
yes.
It's a lot of fun. Now, the program didn't used to be what it is now. In fact, when I was growing up, this might surprise you, San Diego State basketball was maybe the worst college basketball program in America.
Wow.
Before Viejas Arena.
Wow.
Paulie went to San Diego State. Now, he was there during the heyday when Kawhi was there. And
my first year was, we were the same class, Kawhi, so that was like their first year kind of on the map.
Wow.
And my sophomore year is the year they went 34-3 or whatever they did. The showdowns with BYU, and they've been pretty much relevant ever since.
But before
that,
that,
laugh, by the way.
they so when I was young, they Tony Gwynn was a star basketball player in late 70s, early 80s, still the all-time assist leader. And they had Michael Cage in the 80s. They played at the sports arena, now Pechanga Arena, which still exists. It was even kind of getting old back then, and that was 40 years ago. So, and it's still there today, which is crazy. But the program just kept going downhill, and by the late 90s, they were playing in little Peterson gym on campus, which is basically like a rec gym. They're like Division I college basketball games in front of a few hundred people. And the program was like dead and buried, and no one cared about it. No one showed up for it. Last place pretty much every year. And then they hired Steve Fisher, and they built Viejas Arena, and it took a few years, but...
And so even his first few years...
Yeah, they were bad the first couple of years.
He was walking around campus, handing out tickets,
right.
trying
Please,
to get anybody.
I'm Steve Fisher. I won a national championship at Michigan. Will you come to the game for free and watch our team play,
I'll let
please?
you sit in the front row.
Yeah. So, but it took a few years, but now... It's one of the better sports watching experiences. Viejas Arena is cool. The show, the fans who get into it, it is, we lost our NBA team many, many years ago. I used to be a Clippers fan. when I was a kid, go to games with my dad, and I always felt like we should get a team back at some point.
We lost the Rockets and the Clippers.
Lost the Rockets and the Clippers, both of them.
Killing it.
Rockets were even before my time, but my dad and grandpa went to their games and went to the Clippers games. But San Diego State basketball is right up there with the top college basketball experiences. I mean, Kansas and North Carolina and Duke, it may not be quite as big as some of those arenas, but the intensity, you go in there, it's a whole lot of fun. It's a really good basketball town, actually.
And that makes me happy because that was like my one thing about San Diego. I was like, man, I wish we had an NBA team. And I've gone up to LA to watch some games and stuff like that, but I was like, man, if San Diego had an NBA team, this city would be the best for sure. It's already the best, but it'll be even better.
But we got to get you into the Padres now, because this is ultimately
it is a Padres town.
It is a Padres town,
100%.
And over the last few years, especially with the the Petco Park has been great, but then investing in the team and the playoff runs, the NLCS run of a couple of years ago, and all the moves that are made, you can see it, right? The passion for the Padres is pretty intense here.
Well, remember when I first got here, that was our first big story. Me and you field anchoring from Petco Park when that amazing 2022 run, and that was amazing. Then the so much momentum last year when they added all these trades, and then we would joke about in studio how they have this amazing team, but they can't win any games. And then this year they dial it back, and then now they were starting to win some games. So no, yeah, the Padres are for sure San Diego's staple.
How in Boston, obviously there's a lot of passion for the Red Sox as well. Patriots, though, I mean, what did you get the sense there? Like, who was dominant? Was it the Patriots just because of all the wins and Tom Brady, or?
So Boston's funny. Boston's probably. So I've worked on actually a lot of sports markets. So Cleveland was funny because the Browns could literally go 0-16 and it was still a Browns town. And even with LeBron James, but they were crazy about the Browns. And I will say, a little plug for Cleveland. I was there for the best 2 years of Cleveland's life. I was there when LeBron announced he was coming back, and when he when they won a championship. That was actually an amazing, probably one of the most fun times in my career, being there when LeBron takes the city. I'm coming home, and then they win a championship. Kyrie hits a shot. It was crazy. I worked in New York. New York was funny because there's so much happening in New York that you can't care about the sports because it's just there's so much.
I always wondered, how do they even decide? If I was doing this in New York, how would I even decide what to put on? I mean, you got more games than you can cover on every single night.
You literally
Knicks,
have 8 teams.
Nets, Mets, Yankees,
Rangers.
Giants, Jets, Rangers, Islanders, and then college teams, St. John's, and I mean, up and down the list. How would you ever even decide what to cover on a day-to-day basis?
Bruce Beck, who's a legend in New York City. Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about sports in New York is even the fans don't. I mean, obviously you have fans, but when you're watching the newscast, it's not this is a top sports market and we're gonna give a lot of time to sports. It has to be a huge story for sports to get any time. Just
Yankees
because,
in the World Series.
You know what I mean? Because it's just so much happening in New York City. It's just so crazy. So that was definitely an interesting experience. But yeah, you're right. And I remember going to some games in New York. But yeah, the fan base is great. But as far as competition for everything else going on, yeah, it's hard to fight for time in the newscast. But Boston is literally the number one sports market in the country, and I don't even think it's close. So every team, when they're doing well, we put at the top of the newscast because it's just a sports market. It is city of champions. Everybody is cocky about it. Everybody is prideful about it. When I was there, I mean, it was fun. The Red Sox, they had a couple good runs. Obviously, the Celtics went to the finals. The Patriots, I was there for some of the Patriots craziness with the Tom Brady, Antonio Brown kind of craziness. That was funny. And even the Bruins were doing well too. So, no, Boston is a city of champions, and everybody's just so proud of every single team.
All right, you're going to stick around. I got some questions for you.
Yep.
Think about this. I want to know the craziest story you've ever covered. I want to ask you about working with the Queen of San Diego Television, Kimberly Hunt, every single night like I do. Paulie's got a Reindl Report as well. It is all coming up. More Ben and Woods on the way on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back. Final hour of Ben and Woods here on a Tuesday. Woodsy is flying back from his Hawaiian vacation today and should be back in his chair tomorrow. But sitting in his chair right now for the final hour is my colleague at ABC 10 News, Wale Aliyu.
It's a comfortable chair, too, man.
You got an MLB hat on. Where'd you get that?
I got on the Padres when they announced Gallagher Square opening and all that fun. I was walking down there getting out these hats. So
you're wearing it at a cool kind of a skew angle that I would not be able to pull off. My hat either has to be straight or it's just not going to be on my head.
Hello.
But yes, I am. You're a little more loose and casual, I think.
Have you ever done a bro hug with this man?
No.
He can't do it. He can't do it.
I am physically incapable of it.
Well, I make fun.
His body like spasms, and he just doesn't know what to do.
No, Ben is cool. I make fun of him in the studio because I laugh the way he stands when he's reading the news. He kind of stands with like a
he does power stance.
Yeah.
Power stance.
And Wally gave me a good trick actually. Just a couple months ago. They've been trying to putting one foot in front of the other as opposed to kind of standing on the side like you're an offensive lineman ready to absorb a block.
And I'll explain the why behind that. So if anybody's watching on YouTube, here, if you can see me on YouTube, okay, there's my camera. So if I'm coming to you like, here's the news, come into my, welcome into my house, I want to tell you everything that's going on. I'm kind of, you're right, it's like an offensive lineman, like I'm about to tackle you. But if I just kind of angle myself and like have one foot in front of the other, it's just more welcoming. Like, hey, come on inside.
You've received some coaching on this, haven't you? See, no, I've had to fill in on the anchor desk a couple of times.
Yes, you've done a great job.
And I haven't gotten a lot of coaching on that. I remember once an old news director said, try putting your hands apart on the desk a little bit. It's more friendly. It looks a little bit more welcoming, but they do a lot of that.
Here's the news.
They do a lot of that coaching for us, ways you can relate through the camera. I don't even know if it's effective or not. I think you just kind of have to be yourself. You're very good at being yourself, I think.
I have to be myself. I've tried being other people, and it does not work. Trust me.
So I wanted to ask you, before we get to the Reindl Report, how it's been working with the great Kimberly Hunt, who has obviously been in this market. I watched her when I was growing up, and then I've gotten to work with her the last 20 years. She's fantastic. I did find her at the beginning, though, a little intimidating to work with Kimberly Hunt. And I can tell you, I don't know if you felt the same way at all, but that wears off after 10 years. And then I've been very comfortable with her for the last decade.
We is a sweetheart.
She's just so professional. She's so good at what she does.
She is, but I'll tell you, we have a lot of fun. Kimberly and I, we the first time I met her, we instantly hit it off. Like I just came in to interview, and Kimberly and I instantly hit it off, and we're like, yeah, we could work together. Because she's 100%. She's a queen of San Diego. First of all, right? She always looks great on TV. Like even my, I have people in town watching. Who's that? She looks amazing. So. First and foremost, stunning. She's a queen. She always looks dressed to the nines. She's a queen. But she's a lot of fun. So if you guys are ever paying really close attention to the real 10 News viewers, watch us when we come back from a commercial break, because we might still be laughing about something that we were talking about during the commercial, because we were clowns. Some commercial will come on TV. There's a commercial that's on right now, and it's like, I can't remember. It's some car commercial, but it's a guy having a horrible first date experience, where he's like making the girl pay for the meal.
Oh, yeah.
He's like calls her sugar mama.
The automatic car pulls up. I've
yeah,
seen that one.
We joke about that commercial all the time. And I'm like, Kim, a sugar mama. Like we're just having like a. So you'll see us.
Here's a picture of me lifting at the gym with my shirt off. Yeah, I've seen that commercial. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, Kimberly and I, we have a ton of fun together, and she's an absolute legend. She's very welcoming. I lean on her a lot. Like you said, she's been here for 30 years, so I can, if there's anything that I don't know about San Diego, she's the first one I'm calling.
All right. Think about what your craziest story is. We'll get to that in a little bit. Right now, though, Paulie's got some other headlines for us with a very long intro to what we call the Reindl Report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah? Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
Alrighty, Paulie. Before I forget, that reminds me, hearing all the drops from the Open, we need to play for Wale. He probably has seen it somewhere. One of our favorite clips ever. The reporter in South Carolina, is it? Doing his,
yes.
That's a great one. So hang on to that.
We have multiple.
We should bring up all of our news anchor clips that we like to play on the show.
Man,
so
don't
worry about it. You'll be fine.
All right. Well, we'll start off in Major League Baseball. Jackson Holliday has had a lot of eyeballs on him throughout his young Major League career. He was called up early in the season.
Didn't do well, yeah.
Struggled pretty badly, and then was sent down to the minors, I think after
the Orioles
9 or 10 games.
They have so many options. They were like, all right, if you're not playing well, we don't need to keep you up here. I wonder what would have happened if Jackson Merrill had struggled like that. Fortunately for the Padres, he never did. He right away, even as a rookie, was just basically productive and never really was threatened to take out of the lineup or even went, some slumps, but nothing like you'd ever worry about him. Jackson Holliday, though, was really struggling and thought, all right, we need to send him back, which is a tough decision.
Well, he's been playing much better since they called him up. He's hitting well over 300 now with Baltimore, and saw this report the other day that he is crediting, or maybe it's being accredited for him, the video game Golden Tee is what has calmed him down and gotten him back on track. Guy writes, Orioles top prospect Jackson Holliday played the Golden Tee golf arcade game in the visiting clubhouse today. Said he started to hit in Norfolk when he began playing Golden Tee. He said he had a hole-in-one on a par 5 today, which meant a guaranteed 2 hits, and then he went out and got 2 hits.
I could almost see if you were playing MLB The Show, and you're doing well. But I don't know how Golden Tee, other than taking your mind off things,
entirely. Yeah.
Wale, you video games at all?
I'm not a huge video game fan, but when you first said Golden Tee, I'm thinking maybe he's it's not like a tea like a golf tee. It's kind of like a tea with herbs, and he's got a golden tea. That's when you said it's clear in his mind. I'm starting to think about some other kind of golden tea that he might be taking to calm down.
No, yeah, I used to play that. You find it still, in bars and stuff. It's it was always a popular game that you could play. Obviously, it feels a little dated compared to some of the new fangled games, which I can't quite grasp. Video games have passed me. I used to be such a great. I'm a Legend of Zelda champion when I was a kid. The kids would junior high would call me up how do I get past this? How do I get past this? I was the guy.
But it's good to just kind of take your mind off of it. I do understand it from the standpoint of I nothing to do with baseball right now. Let me just kind of do my own thing, take my mind off it, and just relieves the pressure.
All right, well, it's working for him, and it's not as though the Orioles are. Another weapon in that Orioles lineup, which is already pretty devastating, is just getting better now.
I think that story's a little tongue-in-cheek as well.
I'm
sure it was a lot of hard work and time in the batting cages that actually helped him out. But
obviously, the rally roach is what turned the Padres around. That's not tongue-in-cheek at all.
Oh, that is fact.
We need to kiss it before Paulie, give it a kiss before the end of the show because they start a new series today in Pittsburgh. So see if the magic of the rally roach continues, and then when the Padres win the World Series, there'll be pieces written on the rally roach as though it actually had something to do with it, like Golden Tee had anything to do with Jackson Holliday.
100%. Let's go to the Olympics. We'll wrap it up here. Did you guys see the video of the French pole vaulter?
I have not seen this yet.
I saw the.
You know what I'm talking
so there's a Swedish pole vaulter who won and set the world record, but he's not really Swedish. He went to LSU. He grew up in Louisiana. But his dad or his mom competed for Sweden when she was a kid, so he was able to. He's on the Swedish team, but he got the world record in the thing. But no, I had not seen the French pole vaulter.
A couple of days ago, pole vaulter by the name of Anthony Amirati. He was going up and over the pole,
the bar,
and a body part of his may have grazed the bar, and he was disqualified. It didn't count.
Okay, I actually did see
lost.
this. It got caught on his the big unit, essentially.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Is that what their kids are calling it this time?
Well, I mean, Randy Johnson, that's it, you could it really it did. It knocked
I mean,
the
I
bar
saw it
off.
slowed down, zoomed in, and it's pretty clear exactly what happened there.
Yeah.
What part of his body hit the bar as he was trying to go up and over, and the update.
That's why I couldn't be a pole vaulter. Right there. Right there. I couldn't do it.
And the update
That's
on
just
that
a
story,
stereotype, Wale. That's just a stereotype.
Is this morning radio?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Don't play into those stereotypes unless, of course, they're beneficial to you personally, and then go ahead and play into all the stereotypes you want, right?
Well, he didn't win at the Olympics, but there's an adult website that has offered him six figures, $250,000 for a 60-minute webcam show where he would show everything.
He did this on purpose. It's like he's got the biggest stage. He's got the Olympics. This was genius. This was freaking genius.
I don't know. I mean, they're up like, what? How many feet in the air? They're up like
I don't know how high
8
those
feet up in the air on over that pole. I don't think you could actually plan that, right?
He was up all night practicing. Like, I got to make it so I barely graze it with this, and then it'll blow up, and I will have my own show on a different website.
I mean, if you really, though, I mean, most of those Olympic athletes take nothing to chance. Like, every detail is accounted for. So wouldn't that be like one of the details that you'd have to have it
That's a good
tucked?
point.
Well, tucked, just to make sure that last little tiny inch, because, track and field can be like millimeters. You saw the 100-meter final. It was like 5,000th of a second. I mean, the difference between where
And Jamaica's going to take it.
his torso hit. It's like the other guy's foot got there first, but it's not measured by what the first body part that gets to the line. It's where the torso gets. That's how close it was. And in pole vaulting, you just if you get by a fraction of a centimeter over, it's the difference of between knocking it down and clearing the bar.
Football is a game of inches. Track and field is a game of hairs. When I ran track and field, they would tell us.
What was your event?
So I tried all the events, but my main one was hurdles. And I will tell people to this day, the hardest event in track and field is some states have the 300, some states have the 400, but the 300 or 400 meter hurdles is the hardest event there is because you are sprinting and jumping for 400 or 300 meters, and you are exhausted afterward. But I did it.
That's like a quarter of a mile, right?
Basically, exactly. And you're just exhausted. But yeah, my coaches would tell me you got to shave the hair on your arms and legs because it's literally even the hair on your body makes
drag.
It makes a drag for a
swimmers. Obviously, do the same thing. They're well shaved. Obviously, you never see a hairy Olympic swimmer. That's for sure. And obviously, some of those guys do have body hair. They weren't just naturally all born hairless and made them great swimmers. There's meticulous, depilatory creams and shaving that goes as part of the sport.
100%.
I didn't know track did it as well, though.
It is a game of hairs, and any advantage you can get from the start to the finish. You see how they link. There's a method to every millisecond of that race, and even with pole vaulting, you're right. For 4 years, you were training on every bit of the takeoff, how I put the stick, how I execute the jump, how I execute the landing, how I make sure all my body parts stay away from the pole. That is all practice. You're 100% right. So either he did it on purpose or his coach missed or maybe he had a female coach. I don't know. But they missed something. You're absolutely right.
Paulie, thank you very much.
Happy to help.
All right. We're going to take a quick time out, check traffic. When we come back, Wally's going to share some of his crazy TV stories. We all have them. And then I want to play, Wally, some of our local news clips that we've amassed over the years.
And I might even tell you some of my news bloopers early in my career, too.
Oh, you got some, too. I'm not the only one with a blooper,
I didn't get
too.
hit by a car, but I have some funny ones.
We can't all be me getting run over by a car on live television. Back after traffic here with Ben and Wale on 97.3 The Fan. I get a substitute W here. Instead of Ben and Woods, it's Ben and Wale in with me and Paul Reindl for the
shout out to all the W's out there.
W name. So Wale is my colleague at ABC 10 News. He's our evening anchor with Kimberly Hunt, and I have been teasing it. So he's promised to tell me a couple of the crazy stories he's covered and some of the mistakes, mishaps that have happened on television as well in your career.
Where do we want to start?
Let's start with your crazy stories, and then we'll get into the fun
I
stuff.
have good crazy and bad crazy. I'm not gonna, I have some like really just like sad downer stories.
Well, don't bring everyone down.
I don't bring downers. I mean, like I was, there in Cleveland, like when Samir Rice was shot as like the first guy to like interview his mom, and like I have some like really sad stories. Like, but I'm gonna keep it like fun and light. I think. For me, just like I alluded to it earlier, but still the most memorable of my career is LeBron's first game back in Cleveland in 2016. They were playing the Knicks, Melo and Phil Jackson, all these guys, And if you watch that TNT broadcast that night, everybody was waiting for the powder toss and all that stuff. LeBron's first game back. It was the most electric atmosphere I think I've probably ever been in my life. It was insane. And if you go back and watch that TNT broadcast, there's LeBron throwing the powder. And there's like a little itty bitty, black guy right in the back there with his phone filming, and I was literally right there. I mean, it was insane. I mean, it was.
So I'm thinking about that. Obviously, with getting drafted, the native Ohio, and then they started getting good, and they came close, and then the decision. And it must have gutted that city. So to get him back,
Cleveland is literally, It is literally two different cities with and without LeBron. Without LeBron, I hear people say mistake by the lake. But when LeBron was there, the energy of that city, it was totally different.
I got the sense, though, when he left the second time, it wasn't nearly as painful.
No.
Because he got the championship.
What else do you want? 50-year drought.
Like big fish in a small pond out there, where in L.A. he's a big fish in a big pond with a lot of other big fishes.
But he's still one of the biggest fishes.
He's still, but it's not. Yeah, it's not.
So you got to cover him, and Paul. Paul and I were talking about this, I think, off the air yesterday about LeBron and in the spotlight for as long as he has been. And he gets a lot of criticism. I mean, from the talking heads, Skip and everybody. Yep. And yet, he has handled himself incredibly well, considering that level of scrutiny that he's been under. I mean, the worst misstep was probably the decision.
I tell people all the time, just based on the 2 years I lived in Cleveland, I will never, ever, ever say a bad thing about LeBron. I just won't. I mean, I hear, the floppy and the complaining, whiny LeBron. Okay, that's fine. The man it's literally one of the greatest sports stories of all time. It really, and then now what he's doing with the Sun, are you kidding me? The guy, I would cover so many stories in Cleveland. Like, I remember one specific when he built a huge playground in Akron for the kids and just being there with the kids, interacting. I mean, the man, I didn't even mention like the schools that he's building, LeBron Family Foundation, but just lifting an entire city. I mean, even the crime was down he literally, one man can change an entire city franchise. But look how the landscape of the NBA, even the decision, say what you want about that, but he kind of orchestrated player empowerment. Like the guy, everything he touches, and then for him to come into the league with that much pressure. I mean, look at Caitlin Clark now, look at Wembanyama, look at all these people to come in with this much pressure, and we'll see how they do. Time will tell. But the man hasn't really had, you mentioned the decision, but other than that, hasn't really had a misstep. And everybody else, especially in this day of social media, would have been caught up with something, right? But the man, I just won't say a bad thing about him. The man is some people are just special.
I look at like Tiger Woods, who seemed like he was flawless for so long, but growing up with that kind of scrutiny, with those kind of expectations, they got to take a toll. But at this point, I'd be very surprised if LeBron's not the LeBron that we see. Tiger surprised me a little bit when we found out about him, but he was still about 32 or so when we finally kind of learned the real Tiger. I mean, LeBron's LeBron, and he has done.
I think playing the majority of his career with social media too is different.
Kidding
Like,
me.
can you imagine if Michael Jordan's era had social media and somebody was like, "Yo, I'm at a craps table right now," and Michael Jordan just dropped $2 million. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, he wouldn't be able to have lived that lifestyle. And LeBron's been under that spotlight his entire career, and I mean, it seems like a pretty good dad.
Social justice issues, speaking out. I mean, say what you want, get political or whatever, but it's just like the man's special, and just the impact that he's been able to make. And then I brought it up, Bronny. I mean, the fact that you're in the NBA 20 years later and playing with people's fathers and 3 generations of players, and now you bring your own son in, I mean, it's next level.
And not only is he still in the NBA, but he's on the Team USA right now, and arguably has been the best player on Team USA.
1,000 years old.
With all of those stars on the team, and he's still been the best player on the team.
Joel Embiid is supposed to be the best player. He's the most recent MVP, right? You have Anthony Edwards coming up.
He's been pathetic.
Jason Tatum just won the Finals MVP. Steph Curry, who's Steph Curry, but it's LeBron.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Kevin Durant, it's still LeBron.
So, all right. So now share us what's gone wrong on television.
Okay, so I was gonna wait till you guys did the bloopers, but so my first, I love telling this. I don't love, but I tell the story sometimes of my first big blooper on TV, and it was one of my first live shots ever. And for those, live shots when you're standing out there in the middle of God knows where, trying to explain what's happening around you, and when you're first getting this industry, you're terrified, you're sweating bullets, like it's live TV, I gotta go live, and it's like they come out to you, and you just got to be ready. So it was a huge thing, especially, and it still kind of is, where they want you to kind of be active and demonstrative in your live shots. Like, show us something. Don't just, don't just sit there and stand there and tell us. Show us something. So they would encourage you to use props. So I don't remember what the story was about. Something about 7 seconds. So I brought out a stopwatch, and I was gonna be like, and I practiced it 1,000 times before they came to me, and I was like, I'm gonna click the stopwatch. I'm gonna say what I need to say. I'm gonna stop it at the 7-second mark. I'm gonna hold the stopwatch up to the camera and show 7, and just kind of really hone in the point of 7 seconds. Boom. This is gonna be the greatest live shot in television history. I've practiced it. I'm ready. All right, let's go.
And then what happened?
They come out to me. All right, Wale, blah blah blah. What do you know? All right, so boom, 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 boom. Start the stopwatch. Everything's going according to plan. This is going to be great. This is going to be great, man. It's going to be amazing. All right, start the stopwatch. Blah, 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 blah. In 7 seconds, and I look at the stopwatch, and I realize I forgot to clear it out.
Oh, no.
So instead of being at 7, now it's at 14. What am I supposed to do? What would you do? I don't know. I panicked, and I threw the stopwatch over my shoulder, and I pretended I never had it in my hand in the first place.
Stopwatch there. All right, that's not too bad. That's not the worst thing. Now, what I love about Wale, and Paulie, get that clip ready, because Wale, as you hear, same kind of guy. When you watch him on television, you bring you. You don't really change your delivery. You don't change anything about you. But there are television reporters and anchors who have their anchor voice and then their speaking voice.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
It's totally different. And we loved this clip. You've probably seen it virally on YouTube.
This is old, but yeah.
This is old from South Carolina, was it?
I think so.
Yeah.
What really happened on that Thursday here at Augusta High School that led to Chris Wood's death? The is that?
I'm dying in this country ass town.
You've seen it.
Flying in my mouth. I can't see pollen. Let's get the out this country, mother. I can't see me.
So this is gonna blow you guys out. I met this guy.
Oh, you did?
I met this guy. So he's doing well. He's doing well in his career. I think he was in Houston, Texas, or something last time I talked to him. But this is a
I actually think I've tried to track him down specifically because of that clip.
He's a great guy. He gets the questions all the time about it. And I remember showing that you brought up Kimberly. I remember showing this to Kimberly one time. She was just dying. But no, the guy's a good guy. It's a real, especially early in your career, you're out in the middle of nowhere, and when you do a live shot, especially at night, what happens? You got to turn on lights, so the bugs start flying near you. I think this clip, it was in the middle of the day, but still, I think it was in the middle of a cornfield somewhere or something. There's bugs, and you're right, you're talking, and then you got bugs flying in your. I heard somewhere that bugs are attracted to oxygen, so they'll literally fly in your nose where you're breathing your mouth, and it's I'm trying to talk, get the heck away from me, you stupid bug. So that was really, he was just you get, and you're sweating, you're in a suit, you're I totally get it. But the guy's, he's great. He still laughs about it to this day. So it probably advanced his career, honestly.
That's the hazards being out in the field, but there are also hazards in studio when you're anchoring and just reading the prompter.
Oh, gosh.
And I know we all try to, practice, and you get the tough names that sometimes can be difficult.
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah. This one was always one of our favorites. This woman, do you remember where she was from?
I'm trying to look it up. It is WPSD. I don't know where that's from. But, yeah, she was doing a story about a police officer, and here's how it sounded.
Final goodbyes to this fallen Louisville police officer, D.D. Mangudu.
Also not accurate.
Mega doo-doo.
Mega doo-doo.
That's where you guys got that from, because I keep hearing it.
Yeah,
Mega
that's
doo-doo.
we do this every day in honor of DD Mega Doo-Doo. Which it sounds like it was a sad story. I mean, you're trying to be solemn, and I get it. And there are real, TV newscasters actually do have real emotions from time to time, but you also have to present.
Final goodbyes to this fallen Louisville police officer, D.D. Mangudu.
Not it.
I think it looks like Deidre Mengado. It looks like, yeah.
You know what it is? You just, you're reading, and it's been a long day. You just did 7 shows. You're like, okay.
I mean, you can't make an emotional connection with every single story. You just can't. Some are just, you're just reading it, and you just got to keep and move on to the next one.
But DD Megadoodoo, come on.
DD Megadoodoo.
There was another funny one. I remember during the crazy 2020 election, and then they would always talk about a voter dump, right? Like a new dump of ballots, and then.
Right.
And I remember a reporter saying they're about to go they're about to drop off a mega dump here. So that one got clipped and highlighted. It's just like mega doo-doo.
Paul, you would never clip me out of context.
Oh, of course
God,
not.
No.
And play something I said and make it sound dirty.
My God, I'm high.
Hooter Research. Could you imagine if they were doing that at Channel 10 to you every single day, clipping you out of context?
I had one a year ago, and I think I was doing a story about kids or something like that. And they had it was a brand new school. I can't remember which school it was, but they had the brand new playground, and it was cute. And they had set up like these balls for kids to like jump and play on outside. And I was like, look at these big balls, and it was just like, and it came out, and then my producers started laughing. I'm like, oh yeah, that just happened.
Do you still have "Don't Do This" from today? The clip from the game about Bryce Harper and his pants. That was a good one. I mean,
well, just as Bryce went with his pants up, I'm not sure I've seen Garrett with his pants down. That didn't sound right, did it?
That didn't sound right at all, buddy.
It sure did not.
It would only been worse if he said, I've actually seen him with his pants down before.
I'm sorry, what?
What?
All right, one more time out. Final segment coming up. We're going to look ahead. Padres and Pittsburgh Pirates opening a 3-game series later this afternoon. We got Wale in for one more segment, then Annie and Elston join you at the top of the hour. Do not go anywhere.
Unless you got to make a doo-doo.
Yeah, unless you have to, make a doo-doo. Thank you. Next on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back.
Now to the story of a pig that is inspiring others. One pot-bellied pig has certainly endured his share of problems. Chris P. Bacon was born without the use of his
It's the chuckle for me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like a pig in a wheelchair.
Yeah, you have to read this story.
And when it's off the rails, it's so hard to bring it back. I got to tell you, it's so hard.
You know, it's funny.
We cannot. Oh my God.
Chris P. Bacon.
I've never lost it on television. But
you lose it in
I
all the
lose
time
it in
in
here
here.
all the time. Maybe you guys are just funnier.
My goal tonight, if you guys watch ABC 10 News, is to make Ben lose it tonight.
You can
Let's
try.
See if we can do
I
it.
mean,
we call it Breaking
yeah,
Ben.
we have a whole name for it. He plays the Breaking Bad little sounder. Because when I lose it, I fall out of my chair.
Here's one.
Here's one.
And this is Live Your Life from Article Sound System, released 5 years ago.
Otherwise known as ass.
Yeah, Article Sound System.
Got it.
He's gone.
We just let him go.
He's still going.
He's done. It's done. The headphones fell off.
He's gone.
Daniel fell out of his chair.
You guys ever see the clip of the...
I'm not done yet.
Oh, he's still going.
He's still got another 45 seconds.
Got him.
We got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Done, dude. This may be number one.
My stomach hurts.
That's the worst when your stomach starts to tighten.
Oh, God, that's good. Kills me.
You guys ever see the clip of the guy, I always tell my producers, I was like, please do not ever put the word pantry in a newscast. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it because you'll end up like the guy who goes, please check your panties. I meant pantries. And, I was like, can't do it.
Do you have any words you just don't like saying? Like, they're tough for you?
You know what's funny?
Woods hates when I say moist. It just bothers him. But
Yeah.
Oh,
you got the same thing.
I've heard a lot of women say that. Yeah. The word I hate is February. It's just like, am I supposed to pronounce the R?
February.
February or
February.
I just say I don't even mess with the R. I just say February.
I think the R is silent. Isn't it February?
Some people
February?
say February.
February. It's right in between.
Yeah,
that is a tough one.
I don't
now I'm
mess
going to
with
think
it.
about it.
I don't mess with it.
I don't have to worry about it until spring training. we got some time.
Or the funny one, Kimberly and I always joke about this, is like, and we've talked about it too back, last year. Qatar.
It changed on us.
It did. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with that one. I just, because the locals will say, it's good. Try to pronounce it the way we do, but then you end up sounding dumb because you don't make the same sounds.
I've always had trouble with that because if you want to pronounce something the way it's pronounced, like in another country,
right,
then you have to start putting on an accent of like, if you pronounce something like how the Australians say it, you're going to sound like a dork,
like you're trying to be pretentious,
do an
right?
Australian accent.
How to speak Australian.
So that, Paulie's got sound.
He's ready to go.
Everything. All right, let's check one more traffic check out there with Kelly, and then want to look ahead. What the bloody hell was that attempt at an Aussie accent? We'll check traffic and then look ahead. Padres game this afternoon here on 97.3 The Fan. Hang on. The chat also reminding me that I cannot roll my R's, and I've been trying and practicing. You can do it. Wale can do it. He's got it. Turn on his microphone. Turn on your microphone now. You got it. I can't. And they gave me a trick. They said try saying potty, and use that as a way to roll your R's. But then I try to say a word like Beria. I can't. I still can't do it. I
actually don't love R's. I mentioned February. I have to say this word every single day. Meteorologist.
Meteorologist Megan Perry.
Yeah, I have to say it every day, and I'm like, I gotta slow down and pronounce the orologist. And it's like, yeah, R's aren't my favorite. And then B's and D's can be funny sometimes, but. Yeah.
Hazards of being a television newscaster with Wale Aliyu.
There you go.
All right, Padres this afternoon. It's a 3:40 start. They're in Pittsburgh. So first game of a 3-game series. 2:40 pregame show, Eco Water SoCal pregame show with Sam Levitt. Getting ready for another Dylan C start. Boy, he has been beyond outstanding since the All-Star break and even before. His last 4 starts, 27 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 36 strikeouts, including that no-hitter against the Washington Nationals on July 25th. He's going up against Pirates left-hander Bailey Falter, who's been he's been solid. Pirates are a decent team. They're a game above 500, though. They're 4 games out of a playoff spot. And while this is, of course, an immensely important series for the Padres and an important road trip, pretty much make or break now for the Pirates. If they lose any more ground, they're going to kind of be in the boat where you're not going to really feel like, unless you do something like roll off a 20-game winning streak, it's going to be really hard to come from behind. So expect the Pittsburgh Pirates to play like their season is on the line, because in some ways, even though it's early August, it is in some ways on the line for the Pittsburgh Pirates here. They got 4 or 5 teams ahead of them in the standings, and this is a chance for them to directly make up ground. I guarantee you the Pirates fans are going, at least in their minds, hey, we could sweep this series, pick up 3 games right here. We're right back in this thing. So last thing the Padres are going to do, I'm sure, is take the Pirates lightly. But the best way to start it would be to get another great start from Dylan Cease today, get the win in the first game of the series, and then have 2 chances the next 2 days to get the series victory, and then on to Miami over the weekend. And hopefully you'll have a good chance against a Marlins team that obviously sold off a lot at the break. They've won a couple of games since then. They're not as bad as the White Sox, certainly, but hopefully an opportunity to have a winning road trip. Tomorrow's Michael King against Marco Gonzalez, and the Padres still have not named a starter for the Thursday game in the series. I'm guessing Martin Perez might get that on normal rest. Could be Randy Vasquez. Still waiting to hear how Joe Musgrove did in his or at least recovered from his rehab start yesterday. I imagine Mike Schild will have a bit of an update for you on Sammy's pregame show on how Joe did and how he felt, especially because he was supposed to be joining the team in Pittsburgh, and then they were going to decide whether he's going to have another rehab start or just rejoin the starting rotation. So that's this series coming up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. A couple other baseball notes just quickly. I saw yesterday, Paulie, on the Foul Territory podcast that Blake Snell, did you see this? I was surprised. And he said,
I saw he was doing the rounds. I didn't see this particular.
Yeah, so he said that he never even got a call from the Seattle Mariners in the offseason when he was a free agent. Not even a single call. And he immediately said, I was kind of surprised by that. And then he said, but, and not. I know, what they are as a franchise, and, his price tag was high. But given the fact that he's a Seattle native, won the Cy Young, and they were a team that was expected to kind of be going for it and investing in, in the club.
Right.
The fact that there wasn't even a discussion about that is a little surprising to me.
Yeah, that is surprising, because that's where everyone was like, oh, that's the lock. That's a no-brainer. That's exactly what's going to happen. And to not even get a call. And I also saw that he said that the reporting on what the Yankees offered him, 6 years, $150, was very much not what they actually offered him. Yeah.
He also, and I heard Tony Gwynn Jr. talking about this yesterday on Gwynn and Chris, he told Tony he still watches when they don't have a game. He still watches Don and Mud and watches the Padres games and keeps pretty close tabs because he heard something Tony had said about him while watching the game, and he definitely said he has not abandoned his love for the Padres. Still feels very connected and close to the organization. And I just bring it up because there's a good chance he's going to opt out as a free agent. We have no idea what the Padres would do. I don't imagine a reunion with Blake Snell. I mean, if it didn't happen at the trade deadline,
that's the only one I really could have possibly seen, because knowing he's going to opt out, the trade deadline would have made a little bit of sense. But but if the Seattle Mariners aren't interested, and he wants to go somewhere where he's comfortable, definitely comfortable in San Diego, probably getting more comfortable in San Francisco, start after start. A no-hitter is not going to make him feel uncomfortable in San Francisco, to be sure. So, and they're a team that's still on the fringes of the wild card race as well. So, lots of baseball this week. Got football preseason starting this week, full-time, Wale. So, we got a lot of sports coming up here. Fall is here, yeah. San Diego State football is underway. They've got their Fan Fest on Saturday, I saw, and a new coach, and we'll see what they do. It's obviously been San Diego State football has never been a powerhouse, but they've been better than the last couple of years when you were here. They've been better than that. It's been a pretty bad couple of years, and they got the new coach, so they're going to try to turn things around this season.
Try to get a different culture, try to get some wins under their belt. Let's see what happens.
Not easy to do, especially in college sports nowadays. You said you went to Missouri.
Yeah.
So with all the realignment and everything in college sports, now Missouri's still in the Big 12, right? Did they move? No, they went to the SEC.
They're SEC.
Can't even keep track with everything. Yeah. So the SEC now 16 teams. Texas and Oklahoma are there as well.
You have powerhouses like LSU too.
It's good to be. Obviously not. San Diego State got locked out of the Pac-12, and they're still in the Mountain West. Missouri didn't get locked out. They got in, but they're definitely one of the have-nots of the SEC, I would say.
It's funny because Missouri is our team felt a little bit like the Padres, where you always just like, okay, we have a lot of excitement this year, and then you just expect something to go wrong. Like the primary story I will tell is Michael Porter Jr., who is now a champion with the Denver Nuggets. He was like the number one prospect coming out of high school that year, and it's like Missouri lands for the first time ever a number one prospect. The man plays 2 minutes, and then his back goes out. I'm like, you can't win. You can't get lucky at all.
Well, Wale, I really appreciate you coming in and spending some time in studio, getting to know you a little bit more. I will see you later this evening back at our other place of employment, ABC 10 News. But and then you got a trip coming up. That's exciting.
Yes.
So very fun. So anyway, I appreciate you sitting down with us, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
I'd love to be back.
All right, that is it for us, and that should be it for Woods' vacation. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We'll get all the stories. How it went, travel with Woods. He always comes pretty strong out of vacation, and Paulie and I are probably just going to sit back and listen to him for 4 hours tomorrow. Yeah, we're not doing anything tomorrow. Annie and Elston are up next. For Paul Reindl, for Wale Aliyu, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Tuesday from all of us here at San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.